In just one moment, everything I thought I knew shattered. My wife, my confidant, my partner of 15 years, was betraying me. I discovered the truth in the most devastating way. A photo that spoke 1,000 lies. The shock, the anger, the heartbreak, each emotion crashing over me like a relentless storm. But I wouldn't let it end there. I vowed to take back my life, to make them all see the consequences of their actions. This is my story of betrayal and revenge. Vance Rayle had always been told by people he looked up to that if he worked hard, stayed out of trouble, was honest and loyal, everything would turn out well. Now, he felt like a fool for believing those words. He thought if he had just lied a bit, cut corners, and taken the easy way, he wouldn't be in jail now, having lost everything that mattered to him and facing a bleak future. Just a few weeks ago, everything he had worked for seemed within his reach. He had a loving wife, a promising career, and a guaranteed bright future. But now he believed his wife had not only cheated but also betrayed him in the worst way, being part of the accusations that put him in jail. His bail was set at $500,000, which to him might as well have been $1 billion. He wasn't going anywhere. He had plenty of time to think about how he ended up there. He was convinced that the blonde woman he had met must have something to do with it. She was the rudest person he had ever met, even though he didn't know her name. But strangely, he hadn't seen her once since he and his wife moved to the big city. He wanted nothing more than to get out of this mess, but all the evidence pointed to him being guilty. It seemed like an open and shut case. If he didn't know he was innocent, he would have found himself guilty too. Even though he hadn't seen the blonde woman in over 9 months, he was sure she had played a big part in his downfall. Vance thought about his hard road to almost success and his terrible crash. Not wanting to give up to the sadness he was fighting with the last of his will, he kept listening to one song over and over again on his MP3 player. Martina McBride was singing Anyway, and it felt like she was singing just for him. It gave him the strength to hold on. He thought back to when the blonde woman first appeared in his life, desperately looking for clues about how and why his life was falling apart, and wondering if she was behind all of it. Vance Rayle was an average to below-average student finishing the 8th grade, ready to go to high school in the fall. He was a popular athlete, doing well in football and basketball. He was a part of the in crowd, and many girls liked him. But his conservative parents didn't allow him to date until he was 16, so he only got to steal kisses during group activities. He was too young to focus on one girl anyway. His parents seemed especially happy to see him achieve this milestone, though they seemed a bit distracted when he told them where to sit for his graduation. He thought maybe they were just relieved he had made it this far. He had gotten through school by getting some nerds to help him with his projects, keeping his grades just average. His parents, Carl and Mary Beth Rayle, were supportive and wanted the best for their only child. They were often frustrated during his junior high years because he never tried very hard, as if just getting by was enough. They proudly clapped when he received his diploma and took all the required pictures afterward. Vance chatted about spending time at the community pool and hanging out with friends as his dad drove them away from the school. But he noticed they weren't heading home. "What's up, Dad? We're not going home? Isn't it too early for dinner?" His dad replied, "We'll tell you when we get there, son. Just be patient." "When we get where? What's going on?" His mom turned around in her seat, putting her hand on his and giving him a nervous smile. "It's going to be okay, Vance. No questions until we get there," she said warmly. Vance was confused. His parents were never this mysterious except at Christmas, but that was still 6 months away. Then he thought maybe they had a special graduation gift for him, and his excitement grew. They pulled into the parking lot of a fancy hotel. Once the car was parked, his mom and dad both turned to face him, but instead of excited faces, they looked worried. "Vance, your mother and I have some very important things to tell you today. We need you to listen carefully to every word. This could be one of the most important days of your life, and we want nothing more than to help you make the right decision. Please don't let us down." "I won't, Dad. I want to make you both proud of me." "We know you do, son. We both love you no matter what happens today. You know that, right?" "Of course I do, and I love you guys too." "Okay, here's the thing, Vance. There's a woman in one of the hotel meeting rooms who wants to meet you. Your mom and I do our best to take care of you. We may not be rich, but we work hard to make sure you have clothes, food, and a place to live. Our home might be small, but your mom keeps it tidy and cheerful. We've always aimed to give you a loving environment. I know we're not wealthy, Dad, but I've never complained. We might not have as many nice things as some other families, but I wouldn't trade my family for anything. You guys are the best. But what's going on with this woman? To be honest, we're not even sure you'll meet a woman. A woman met us earlier today but didn't give us her name. She only said that someone would meet with you. What is this about, Dad, Mom? We wish we could tell you, son, his mom said. But we had to agree to say nothing until you meet them. Listen to what they say and always remember who you are and who you represent. That's right, son, his dad added. Go inside past the front desk, take the first right and look for conference room number 7. You don't need to knock. They're expecting you. You're not coming with me? He asked. I'm afraid we can't. That's part of the deal we agreed to. You have to go in alone and make this decision by yourself. We aren't allowed to influence you, his dad confirmed. Your father and I will be waiting right here. Go on, and remember we support you 100%, she repeated. With his mind spinning, Vance left the car, glanced back at his concerned parents, and entered the hotel lobby. He gave them a quick smile and wave, which they returned just as quickly. The hotel was grand, a place Vance had never visited before, but he followed the directions. He found conference room number 7 quickly and turned the handle. Unsure of what to expect, he walked in and saw a single table about 50 feet inside to the left. A lone woman sat between the wall and the table, and a single chair waited for him opposite her. As he approached, he noticed she was one of the most beautiful women he had ever seen. She was not dressed in a revealing way, but puberty had a strong effect on him. He thought she looked like a goddess, until she spoke. As he got closer, he held out his hand to shake and said, "Hello, I'm Vance." She cut him off. "Yes, I know, you're Vance Rayle." She ignored his friendly gesture, looked him over quickly, and sighed. "Just sit down, boy, and let me see what we have here." Stunned by her rudeness, he smiled and took the seat as told, remembering his parents' advice. She seemed to be looking at a large file. "It says here your grades are terrible, so you're lazy and good for nothing, right?" "Ma'am, What? Well..." He struggled to find words. He represented his parents here, and even though they were waiting outside, he was determined to be polite. "I don't really know what to say to that, ma'am." "There's nothing to say, fool. I'm just stating the facts. Your report cards show you're a no-good loser. Is that what you are?" "No, ma'am. I'm not a loser, and I think you're being very rude. Have we met before? Have I done something to you?" "No. If we had, I'm sure you would remember me," she replied with a smirk. "Why am I here, miss?" "You don't need to know my name. Who I am isn't important to your situation right now. From looking at your unimpressive records and seeing you in person, I think you're a waste of time. But your benefactor, for some unknown reason, believes there's potential in you." There were 2 water bottles on the table. One was half empty in front of her, and the other was unopened in front of him. Trying to calm down from her insults, Vance asked, "Is this water for me?" "Wow, you're sharp. Yes, help yourself." He disliked how she called him boy sarcastically. He decided to drink some water to gain time to compose himself. "A benefactor?" he repeated, hoping for more. "Yes, and why this benefactor sees anything in you is beyond me, but it's not my decision. I'm here on their behalf to offer you a chance you don't deserve." "Okay. Here's the deal. You just graduated junior high school today and have 4 years of high school ahead, right?" "Yes, ma'am." "Do you have any plans for college or your future?" "Well, I haven't really thought about it much. I'm still young." "That's what I thought. No ambition, no goals, no plan, no brains. Loser!" "Now, just a minute," he started. She interrupted. "Shut up, fool, and listen. You have one shot, only one shot. If you take this chance, you might actually do something good with your life. If you don't, you can leave here just as clueless as you came in, and stay that way forever." "One chance at what?" "One of the best education opportunities in this country, better than anything you could get alone." "What do you mean?" "I'm talking about the chance to get a degree from Harvard University, young man." "Why me?" "But how? I can't afford—" She cut him off. "That's the point, isn't it? You'll have to earn that degree the hard way. Hard work, serious studying, and no more fooling around. So tell me, Would getting a degree from Harvard, worth a lot of money but costing you nothing, interest you? Of course it would, but... She interrupted again. But you don't know what to do or how to get there, I know that. The blonde woman, as he now thought of her, slid a piece of paper over to him and went on. Here is a list of courses you need to take this summer at your high school. After that, you'll be taking a heavy load of classes in 9th grade, full of math and economics. But I hate math and economics. Then we have nothing more to talk about, Vance. I'll tell your sponsor that you turned down this once-in-a-lifetime chance and chose to stay a failure. Goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on your way out. She looked away, acting like the meeting was over. Vance was furious. He had never felt this angry before. His parents always told him he could be anything he wanted. They supported him through everything. Now they had brought him here for this amazing chance, and he was just going to let it slip away? He remembered telling his parents he wanted to make them proud. They brought him to meet this woman, knowing he would get this chance and he was just going to blow it. At that moment, something changed inside him. He felt a resolve. His heart raced, pumping blood like he was running a marathon. It felt like his life came down to this clear, decisive moment. He loved his parents. They had given him everything. They got him here to this narrow chance, and he was not going to let them down. I'll do it, he said strongly. I'll take your courses. Just tell me what I have to do. She laughed hard. You think you have what it takes? You don't know half of it yet, but maybe there's a spark in you. If you want that Harvard education, you'll have to earn it. You'll have to work hard and study like never before. We'll sign you up for summer classes starting in 1 week. Then you'll take the courses we pick for all 4 years of high school, including summers. No skipping any courses. She continued. And if you think it will be easy, listen to this. You must get a grade of 3.6 or higher in every course. If you get below 3.6 even once, the deal's off. You'll prove me right by showing you're not able to make it, and nothing would please me more, she said strongly. Vance stood up. Now it's my turn to speak. I don't know who you are or why you don't like me, but I'm going to prove you wrong. You think calling me names will make me quit? You don't know me. I don't give up easily. I'll take every course you throw at me and I'll make the grade. You can count on that. So let's start. And you can tell my sponsor, whoever he is, that he was right about me. I'll make him and my parents proud. And you? I'll make you eat your words. Vance looked her directly in the eye. For a moment he saw something in her face. Was it disgust? No, she'd already shown that. Fear? No, she seemed too tough for that. Recognition? That seemed right. But how? He was sure he had never seen her before. What did she see in him? Then we'll see what you're made of, won't we, young man? She slid another paper in front of him. Just sign this form at the bottom. By the end of the day, a new bank account will be set up in your parents' names, with a trustee managing it. We'll put $400 in there, $100 for each year of your high school. If you manage to get all your grades up and finish with a GPA of 3.6 or higher, then we'll add $100,000 to that account as a start towards your Harvard education. Vance was shocked. It was real. He quickly grabbed the pen from the table and signed the form. If you see me again, Vance, it will be because you graduated high school with the grades we talked about. To be honest, I don't think you'll stick with it and you'll go back to wasting time and doing nothing, but I have to wish you good luck, young man. She reluctantly offered her hand to shake. He uneasily took her hand. Now our business is done. Please leave. Vance just smiled. Her rudeness now felt funny to him. He nodded and went back to the parking lot to meet his parents. After he left, the blonde woman put on a glove, picked up his half-filled bottle of water, and poured it into a nearby trash can. Then she placed the bottle and cap into a clear plastic bag. When Vance got into the back seat of the family car, his parents looked at him eagerly. Well, they both said, I'm going to do it. I'm not a loser, and I'm going to make you proud. I signed up. His parents were thrilled. His dad reached around and patted him on the arm. That's my boy. You know we'll help you any way we can. It won't be easy, son. You always say, nothing worthwhile ever is, right, Dad? Vance did what he said he would. He worked hard, did all his homework, and aimed for good grades. He skipped sports and other activities, barely making a 3.6 GPA in 9th grade. But by the 10th and 11th grades, things got a bit easier. In his senior year, he worked really hard, scoring a 4.4 GPA and graduating with honors. He wasn't the valedictorian because another student, Stephanie Dunham, focused more on science classes while Vance's were mostly finance and economics. But Vance didn't mind. He met his goal and went beyond it. He did date sometimes in high school, but nothing serious. He didn't want to get distracted from his goal. Carl and Mary Beth Rayle were very proud of their son. Vance had done more than they expected and overcame every challenge. They checked the bank account and saw $100,400 in it. They threw a big graduation party for him, inviting all their family and friends. Vance looked forward to relaxing that summer after 4 years of hard work. Vance was nervous about getting into Harvard. Even with his high GPA, getting into Harvard was tough. He hoped his sponsor had enough influence to help him get in. He was still unsure what to major in. While having lunch, his parents got a call. His mother said, "Vance, we're so pleased with your hard work. We checked the account, and it's all there, just like they promised. You have a chance to do well at Harvard. We don't know what's next for you, but we're sure you'll do great. We're always here for you." "That's right," his dad added. "It's 12:15 now. Your sponsor wants to meet you at the same hotel as before at 1 o'clock sharp. You have just enough time to get ready and go there. We can't go with you, so you'll drive yourself." "Okay, it's short notice, but I'll be there. I want to get everything settled for my admission. I need to get going." He quickly finished his food and took a shower. He hoped someone different would be there this time. After getting dressed, he arrived at the hotel 5 minutes early. He found the room and entered. "Oh no," he thought. "It's that rude woman again. Maybe she'll be nicer now that I've done well." She sat at a plain table with a pitcher of water and 2 glasses. She didn't get up to greet him. "Well, well, look who it is," she said. "Well, if it isn't the famous Vance Rayle gracing me with his presence," she teased. "And I see you're as charming as ever," he replied. "Don't get defensive, Mr. Rayle. I'm here on behalf of your supporter to offer you another deal." "Oh? Are you canceling my Harvard admission after all my hard work?" "Hard work? You don't know what hard work really is, Vance. Still, congratulations are in order. I was shocked to learn that you fulfilled your side of the bargain. That's why I'm here." "I honestly owe you thanks, miss. My name isn't important now. If you survive the challenges ahead, you may learn it one day. But why are you thankful to me?" "Because of you, I'm here now. I wanted to prove you wrong, and I believe I did. So, thank you for the motivation," he said. She thought. "For reasons I don't know, your supporter wants us to offer you 2 futures. Don't worry, we'll keep our word and get you into Harvard. You can take any courses you want for a 4-year program. We'll pay for everything for those 4 years. After that, it's up to you. All college costs, room and board, books, and fees are covered. Transport to and from Harvard is your responsibility. Just sign here and it's a done deal. Here's a pen." Vance took the pen and held it. "Didn't you say there were 2 options? What's the other one?" "Oh, that. It's hardly worth mentioning. It's tougher than what you just did for the past 4 years. I doubt you'd want to work even harder for a little more reward." "Can I hear it anyway, just to be sure?" "Okay. Option 2 is this. 1. We get you into Harvard right away. You start summer classes in 2 weeks and take a full load. 2. Your 4 years at Harvard will be very tough. You must take the maximum course load each year. 3. We pick all your courses. You must earn a 3.8 GPA or better in each one. 4. If you survive, you get a master's in business economics and finance in 4 years. "Is that even possible?" he asked. "I know only one man who did it. Your supporter." "Why a 3.8 GPA?" "Because that's what he earned when he was there." "Who is he?" "I'd like to meet him," Vance said. "He remains anonymous for now. I can say you'll never meet him." "And what if I fall short?" he asked. "If any grades are below 3.8, we drop all requirements, but that's the end of our support. You'll have to repay the cost of your education." Vance winced. As good as he thought he wasn't sure he could risk everything. But he needed to know more. Surely there was something she wasn't telling him. "And if I succeed," he asked. "It's nearly impossible. But if you reach the goal with everything intact, you agree to a 1-year internship with a top financial firm. If you quit, leave, or get fired for cause, you lose the chance and must still repay your education. It's not worth it. No one can do that today, even if your supporter did before you were born. Just take the first deal and walk away with a great education. It's your only real choice. And after the year, what then? Vance asked through gritted teeth. Why do you want to know more? It won't hurt to know, right? She tried to stare him down, but he didn't blink. He had more confidence than at their first meeting. All right, I'll tell you. You won't achieve it. But if by some miracle you do, you get a lifetime job with the company with a very good salary. Is that what you wanted to know? She said sarcastically. I see. Yes, thank you. How long do I have to think it over? When do you need to know? I'd like an answer right now, but I must give you 24 hours to think it over. If you can't decide now, meet me here tomorrow at the same time. Don't be late. With that, she picked up her things and left. Vance was overwhelmed by everything he had just heard. He needed advice. He went home to talk to his parents. They sat on the couch as he explained the two options as best as he could. Should he take the easy way, get a bachelor's from Harvard, and start his life in any direction he wanted? That was the easiest solution. But the second option was tempting. He knew it would be a lot of hard work, but it was possible. His sponsor had done it before, and after a one-year internship, he could end up with a great job at a big financial firm. But it was risky. One bad grade, one mistake, and he'd owe more than he could ever pay. What should I do, Dad? I trust your judgment more than mine. I'll do what you suggest. What do you think? Carl thought for a few seconds before answering. Son, it comes down to what you want. Either way, your mom and I will always be very proud of you. You call option one the easy way. I can't see either way being easy. A degree from Harvard has to be earned. They don't give them out for nothing. I think you're asking if you should take the safe way, and I'll answer that with 2 points. He went on. I saw a boy turn into a good young man because he wanted to change. You proved you could do the work. You took the challenge and reached the goal with no shortcuts. We couldn't be prouder. Even if you don't believe in yourself, your mom and I know you can do anything you set your mind to. So can you do it? Yes. But will you? He continued. That's what you're really asking, right? I'll answer that with my second point. I saw you playing football in junior high against the Bulldogs. Your team was behind by 16 points. It was the last seconds of the game and you were on defense. There was no way your team could win. But what did you do? I'll tell you. You ran after the quarterback like a madman. You pushed through 3 big linemen to get to him, and you did. You hit him so hard he stayed down for 5 minutes, but when he fell, he dropped the ball. The game could have ended then. It should have ended. But no, you didn't give up. You picked up that ball and ran like crazy. Every player on the other team was after you, except the quarterback. I saw you run for 45 yards when the first player hit you, but you kept going. The second player joined the first, but you kept going. The third, fourth, and fifth players all piled on, but you pushed on. No one could see you, just a pile of players moving slowly toward the goal line. I couldn't see you, but I could hear you. You were yelling and groaning at the top of your lungs. You were unstoppable. You dragged those 5 players across the line and collapsed. When they pulled everyone off, the referee saw you still had the ball and scored a touchdown. He grew quiet for a moment, letting the memory sink in. Your team lost the game that day, but you were a hero. What you did was shown on several TV sports shows. You could have let the game end, but you didn't. You have a fight and determination inside you that I don't know where it comes from. Son, what I'm saying is, you're not a quitter. If you want something badly enough, you go after it. So, what do you truly want? Vance suddenly smiled as he stood up. He hugged his dad and patted his back. You always know what to say, Dad. And you're right. That's what it all comes down to. Thanks. The next day, Vance was on time to meet with the blonde-haired woman again. I may regret my choice, as I'm sure you'll tell me, but I've decided to go with option 2. Getting a master's degree instead of a bachelor's in just 4 years, along with a chance to work for a top company, makes me want to take that path. So, how do we do this? She glared at him as if he had insulted her. I hope you know what you're doing. It's your problem. But you can't say I didn't warn you. Not if, but when you fail, and I know you will, you can't say you weren't advised against it. But if you want to follow this plan of yours, it's at your own risk. You always know how to cheer me up. Do I need to sign anything? She gave him over a dozen documents to sign. He walked with her to the hotel office where she made copies of all the important papers, including the penalty clauses if he failed. One more question, he said. Now that I've signed everything and chosen the hard path, can you tell me the name of the financial company where I'll intern and maybe work for my career? Aren't you curious? That information is on a need-to-know basis. Until you prove yourself at Harvard, knowing the name won't help you. If you make it that far, it will be revealed then. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a plane to catch. I don't want to spend more time in this small town than I have to. Vance found it hard to feel excited about the challenges ahead. But he looked forward to finishing 6 years of college in just 4 years. She had never seen anyone so dedicated to their studies. She didn't know about his situation because he was forbidden to tell her. Abby hoped that by summer, Vance could take it easy, and they could spend more time together. She planned to stay around for a few weeks to date him more steadily, but when she found out he was taking a full load of summer classes, she felt let down. She went back home and dated other people over the summer. While Vance kept up with his studies, Abby was getting tired of the guys back home. The few she had dated at Harvard were either full of themselves or acted like they were better because they came from rich families. Vance was different. He was always honest with her and never made promises he couldn't keep. He seemed to have a clear goal for his life. He was the smartest person she knew at Harvard and had the highest GPA. When Abby returned to Harvard in the fall for her senior year, she decided to stick with Vance. She would help him with his goals and focus all her attention on him. Abby was getting average grades in her accounting degree and was fine with that. She had a full scholarship because of her participation in women's golf. She wasn't the best, but she was pretty good and was happy with the free ride. After reconnecting with Vance, she made as much time for him as she could. Apart from her classes and golf, she was always near him. She spent many nights helping him study, just the two of them, asking him questions or providing formulas. Over time, they both fell deeply in love. Vance found his soulmate and missed her every time she was away for the weekend playing golf for Harvard. One Friday night mid-semester, his fraternity hosted a party with their sister sorority, and attendance was mandatory. He invited Abby, and she spent most of the evening with him. She saw how immature the other students were and how different Vance was. They both drank, but stayed in control. As the party ended, she asked him to come back to her dorm room. Her roommate, who was also on an athletic scholarship, was out of town for a basketball game. A little tipsy, they managed to walk to her dorm by holding each other up. She was finally seeing a side of him she had hoped for. They were in love, and tonight they also realized how much they liked each other. They had kissed many times before, but this time felt different. The alcohol seemed to lower his guards. She would have let him get closer long ago if he had only made a move. Soon his shirt and her top were on the floor. Vance stepped back, frozen, staring at her. "Is something wrong, honey?" she asked. "Not at all," he slurred. "Then why are you staring?" "Because you are the most beautiful I have ever seen," he added. "I bet you say that to all the girls," she chuckled. "Never," he said abruptly. "You're my first, my very first." "You're a virgin?" she whispered, surprised. "Yes. I've been focusing on school for many years, leaving little time for a social life. Plus, I wanted to save myself for the right person. And that person is you, Abby. I've seen videos and know the basics, but I might need your help." "Vance, that's so sweet. You just made me realize that I love you more than before. You are an amazing man, and I want to share everything with you. You're my man, and I don't want to be with anyone else. Let's get you out of those clothes and see where our love takes us." "That was incredible," he said breathlessly. "I've seen it in videos, but nothing compares to the real thing. You're amazing." She smiled. "I thought your first time might be quick, so I wanted to do that first so we can move on." He looked surprised. "Move on? I'm not sure I'm ready for another round so soon." She laughed softly. "When you watched those videos, did you see men pleasing women too?" "I did, and I imagine doing it a lot." "Well, if you're willing, I'd love for you to try. By the time you're done, I'll be ready for you." "Your wish is my command," he said with a grin. Vance was clumsy but eager to please. She didn't want to embarrass him by giving too many instructions. Though she didn't reach her peak, she was ready for what was next. She pulled his head up and kissed him deeply. He was worried her scent on his face would bother her. It didn't. She laid back, opened her legs, and guided him into the next step of their journey together. "Wow, just wow!" she exclaimed. "I'm keeping you forever. If this was your first time, I can't imagine how amazing you'll be later." "I feel the same, Abby. Tonight you made me so happy to be a man. I couldn't picture a better first time." After this moment, the couple became nearly inseparable. They spent as much time together as possible, though Abby had a more flexible schedule. She cherished every moment they could share. Since Vance's parents didn't have to pay for his college costs, they often sent him money for other needs. They wanted him to fit in well with his wealthy peers. Vance appreciated the money, but he didn't spend much on clothes, so he had saved quite a lot by his senior year. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, early on a Saturday morning, Vance took Abby's hand. "Let's go for a walk," he said. "Where to?" she asked. "Just nearby. We won't leave campus. Your shoes will be fine." He led her to the science center. They took the elevator to the 8th floor and stepped out onto the observatory. It was one of his favorite spots, offering views of all of Harvard and even parts of Boston. "What do you think of the view?" he asked. "I've never been up here before. It's amazing. You can see almost everything," she answered with a smile. Suddenly, Vance dropped to one knee and held her left hand. Realizing what was happening, Abby's heart raced and she couldn't speak. She hoped with all her heart that her dreams were about to come true. "It was at this campus that I met the love of my life, my soulmate, the one I want to spend forever with. This place means so much to me, and I couldn't think of a better spot to do this. As beautiful as this campus is, it's nothing compared to the beauty you bring into my life every day. So I have to ask you, Abigail Dawn Bergstrom, will you be my wife? Will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes as she screamed, "Yes!" He took the ring from the box and gently put it on her finger. She hugged him so tightly he thought his ribs might crack. As she looked at the ring with love and joy, she knew it could have been a simple toy ring, and she would have felt the same. But it was a beautiful ring set in shiny white gold. "Oh my gosh, I have to tell my parents. Do yours know?" "No, sweetheart. I wanted you to be the first to know. My parents have no idea yet." "Vance, you've made me the happiest girl in the world. I love you forever. I will never let you go. When do you think we should get married?" "I don't have a specific date in mind, but definitely not before we finish college," he said with a smile. "I still need to focus on my studies until the end, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel." "That's right. We both graduate next June. We can have a summer wedding. The sooner the better. I can't wait to be Mrs. Vance Rayle." "Or Mrs. Abigail Rayle." He laughed. They called her parents to share the big news, and they were overjoyed. They had heard her talk about Vance all the time, seen his pictures on her phone, but never met him in person. They begged her to bring him to Columbus, Ohio for Thanksgiving so they could finally meet and celebrate with the whole family. Vance agreed as long as she would come with him to meet his parents in Greensboro, North Carolina at Christmas. He wanted to surprise them with the news then. After some back and forth, her parents agreed, as long as they could visit the couple before they left for Christmas to exchange gifts early, since she wouldn't be home later. Her parents ended up loving him. They had never seen their daughter with a more mature young man, and they were thrilled to welcome him into the family. Christmas with his parents went just as well. They thought he was just bringing a girl home for approval, which was a big deal by itself. But when they saw the ring, they were surprised and incredibly happy, welcoming her as their new daughter right away. Abby and Vance's mom, Mary Beth, became very close over the holidays, and Abby wanted her to have a big role in the wedding planning. Abby was amazed by how much love and care Vance's family had for each other, even though they didn't have much money. She was happy to accept them as her new family, and looked forward to a future with them. As much as Vance wanted to spend all his time with his fiancée, he had to focus on keeping his grades up. The school year was ending, but he felt like he had a lot of responsibilities and had to be careful not to let anything slip. On top of everything, his fraternity needed him to help choose new leaders for the next year, which took a lot of time. He liked being part of the fraternity, but wished he had more time to be involved. He didn't know then how much his membership would help him later in life. By mid-May of his last year at Harvard, Vance was taking one of his toughest classes, Advanced Statistical Analysis Derivatives versus Commodities. Professor Gunther was rarely available outside of class, so Vance made sure to ask all his questions during lectures. Sometimes the professor wasn't even there, and they had to listen to a recorded lecture instead. Vance felt confident in the class since he had done well on all the tests and exams. A big project that counted for a large part of the grade was due soon. It needed a lot of work to gather the needed information and present it well, but Vance felt he had done a great job. The project had to be handed in by 5 p.m. on Friday. Vance had put in a lot of extra time on his project. He wanted to turn it in early because he had a movie date with Abby on Friday afternoon, and he didn't want to miss the deadline. At the movie, an annoying man kept bothering everyone. He started at the front and walked towards the back, sometimes shining a flashlight in people's faces. Vance and Abby got annoyed when the light flashed in Vance's face. "Vance! Vance! Come with me right now!" said the man in a low but urgent voice. "It's important!" Confused, Vance got up to see why he was being called. Abby followed him as they left the theater and went to the lobby. Although Vance recognized the young man, he couldn't remember his name. "Who are you and what do you want?" Vance asked angrily. "And why now? You're hard to find, Vance, but if we hurry, there's still time." "Time for what?" asked Vance. "To hand in your statistical analysis project? It's a big part of your grade." "I turned it in yesterday, you idiot." "Why did you interrupt our movie?" Vance fumed. "Listen, Vance, my name's Andrew Patterson. I'm a grad student and a part-time TA for Professor Gunther. As you know, the books for his course aren't available through the bookstore, so most students return theirs to his office. I was there yesterday, sitting behind piles of books, checking them for next year." "Yeah, so? What does that have to do with me?" Vance asked impatiently. "Everything?" Andrew exclaimed. "I saw you turn in your project to Professor Gunther, but after you left, something weird happened. Gunther looked around to see if anyone else was there. I was quiet to see what he would do. He walked to the trash can and threw your project away. He then said to himself, 'Whoops, I guess you missed the deadline, Mr. Rayle. Unfortunately, this 0 will hurt your grade, but you'll still pass and graduate, so don't worry.'" Vance's eyes widened. "In the trash? He threw my work in the trash, but why?" "I don't know, man. Do you have any problems with Professor Gunther?" "No, never. In fact, we got along well." Then Vance thought it might have something to do with someone else, like a jealous classmate. "Well, whatever the reason, he's out to get you. If you don't turn in your project, your grade will suffer, and I couldn't let that happen." "Did you take my work out of the trash and put it back on his desk?" Vance asked urgently. "I thought about it, but then I realized he might just throw it away again." "You need witnesses when you turn it in," Andrew explained. "I've worked so hard on this." "All those late nights and now it's for nothing!" Vance cried. "It's not over, man. If we hurry, we can still make it before the deadline," said Andrew. "But what if he just throws it away later?" Vance asked. "If we're all there to see you hand it in, he can't deny it. Especially with his own TA as a witness," Andrew said. "But my project might be gone by now," Vance said, losing hope. Andrew pulled a big packet from behind his back and said, "You mean this project?" Vance grabbed it from him and quickly checked it. "Yes, this is it." "If we hurry, we can still make it before 5 o'clock, Andrew urged. Vance grabbed Abby's hand and started running. "What are you waiting for, Andrew? Let's go!" The three of them made it with 3 minutes to spare. They stood outside Professor Gunther's office for a moment to catch their breath before walking in. Vance handed Professor Gunther his project in front of Abby and Andrew. "Here's my project, Professor. Looks like I made it just in time." Abby added, "After all the hard work you put in, it would have been terrible for your grades if you hadn't delivered it on time." Andrew patted Vance on the shoulder. "Good job. I'm sure Professor Gunther is looking forward to seeing your work. Right, Professor?" Gunther looked at the three of them with a stunned expression. He knew Vance had already turned in his project yesterday, but here he was handing it in again, with 2 witnesses. Gunther was ashamed. He knew they were aware of what he had done, and that now he would have to return the bribe he had taken. He wondered how Vance had found out. He nodded to Vance and thanked him for turning it in on time, saying he looked forward to reviewing it. When the 3 stepped back into the hallway, Vance turned to Andrew. "I owe you big time, man. You have no idea how close I came to losing everything. If you hadn't helped me, my plans would have been ruined. Thanks from the bottom of my heart." Andrew shrugged. don't mention it. I'm just sorry it took me so long to find you. You're kind of a legend here for being the hardest working student. It would have been awful if your record got messed up because of a professor's grudge. How do you know me? And why did you go to so much trouble for someone you haven't met before? Well, maybe you don't remember, but 3 years ago I was struggling in advanced calculus. I joined a study group 2 weeks before the final exam and you were in it. If you hadn't explained some of those formulas, I would have failed and had to repeat the class or worse, drop out. He continued. Also, I'm Sigma Chi, your fraternity brother. I've seen you do the tough job so others can have fun. I couldn't stand by while my brother got hurt. I asked every brother to help find you. We made over 200 phone calls, but we found you. You had mentioned to Stephen that you'd be watching Casablanca this afternoon, and that's where I found you. Vance shook Andrew's hand eagerly. And I'm so glad you did. Thank you again. I realize now how important it is to have friends and support. Hard work alone isn't enough to succeed. On Sunday, June 9th, a beautiful sunny day. Honey, his mother said, they have spent a lot of money on your education. They have the right to meet with you on their schedule. Why do you seem so reluctant to meet with them? His mom asked. Mom, it's not that I have any problem with my sponsor or the company I hope to work for soon. I'm very thankful for everything they've done for me. What bothers me the most is that woman I've met with every time. Judging by the tone of that letter, I'm sure she will aim her sarcasm at me once again. Do you think your benefactor has some sort of grudge against you? Asked his dad. I didn't want to say anything before because I didn't want to talk bad about the people paying for my education. But there's more to this woman than you know. He told them about the harsh interactions with the blonde woman. He also recounted a strange incident with Professor Gunther. The woman had told him that his pursuit of a master's degree and job would be his downfall and that he would surely fail. He thought she was behind the attempts to sabotage his career. His mom gave him some advice. I understand you think she might be behind some plan to harm you, and you might be right. But remember what your father has always taught you. Be sure you have solid proof before you act. Can you say for certain you have hard evidence? Vance looked down at the floor because he knew she was right. And another thing, she continued, isn't she the one who, despite her harsh words, made it possible for you to achieve what you have? It would have been easier for her to simply not give you the chance. Maybe she has some personal grudge against you and you might find out one day. But until then, keep your plans to yourself. Ignore her mean comments. Perhaps she's testing your character. Always remember who you are and who you represent. You have made us proud, and I'm sure you won't stop now. You're right, Mom. Sometimes I lose sight of that. I'm proud of being a Rayle, proud of our family, and proud of my parents. Thanks for reminding me. I know where I came from, and I won't forget who I am. I'll meet with that woman tomorrow and rise above her pettiness. He arrived in the parking lot at 1:45, taking deep breaths to calm himself. He was so close to reaching his goals and wouldn't let anyone stand in his way, not even the blonde woman. He walked into conference room 3 at 1:55 p.m. Without a word, he sat in the chair meant for him, noticing she didn't stand to greet him or offer her hand, which he expected. But he noted she was still as beautiful as he remembered. Well, I guess you're ready to gloat and say, I told you so, aren't you? Last time we met, didn't you say you'd make me eat my words? She said. Vance smiled but stayed silent. What's this? Cat got your tongue? No matter. I've already sent you congratulations in writing, so I won't repeat myself except to say you surprised me. When we first met, you were an unruly 14-year-old with a big chip on your shoulder. Now you are a 22-year-old graduate who has never held a job in his life. He blinked slowly, looking straight into her eyes, still silent. Your sponsor told me to give you a graduation gift. She opened her large purse and took out a small gift box, wrapped nicely. She placed it on the table and slid it over to him. Open it. We can't proceed until you do. He finally looked away from her eyes and took the small package. Puzzled by its weight, he wondered if it was a block of lead. When he opened it, he found what looked like a shiny chrome ashtray. He picked it up, looked for any inscriptions, found none, and tossed it back on the table. Leave it to you to get me something useless. I don't even smoke. She closed her eyes, lowered her head slightly, and shook it slowly. What am I supposed to see in this idiot? She whispered to no one. Oh, so I'm an idiot now because I don't smoke? Is that it? No. You're an idiot because you can't see beyond the surface, even after your top-tier education. You're still that same smug 14-year-old boy. What are you talking about? What's short-sightedness? Just because I didn't ooh and ah over a cheap chrome ashtray? No, because I have one just like it. Though I don't smoke either, it is one of my most treasured possessions. It was given to me by your sponsor when I graduated from Harvard. He wanted you to receive the same, she said, tearing up. It was the first time she showed any emotion other than anger towards him. Look, I don't mean to put down any gift. Tell my sponsor I appreciate it very much. Honestly, I thought you had picked it up just to annoy me again. I apologize for my assumptions, he said, looking sorry. Maybe there's some hope for you. I didn't choose it for you. Your benefactor did. I was told to get one made like mine so our graduation gifts would match. I don't think you deserve such a nice gift, but I must follow your benefactor's instructions exactly. Can you tell me what's so special about this ashtray? Looks pretty normal to me, he said, gesturing to it. Okay, I'll tell you what my benefactor said when I got mine. Maybe that will help. Go on, he replied, curious. Years ago, I was where you are now. No, I didn't have the awards you got at Harvard, but I was just as confused to get such a simple gift for my college graduation. Then he explained. I don't remember his exact words, but I can give you the main idea. This ashtray is like you. People see it and think it's just an ashtray, only good for holding ashes and trash, she explained. She continued, most people you meet will think you aren't worth much, just like that ashtray. They think you exist to do lowly things because they only see the outside. But it's not just an ashtray, young man. She suddenly paused, as if she had just realized something. This ashtray weighs exactly 80 ounces or 5 pounds. It has a thin layer of chrome on the outside, hiding what's under it. You're probably wondering what's underneath. Lead? Steel? Iron? You'd be wrong. Underneath the chrome is gold. Pure 24-karat gold, and today that gold is worth $2,000 an ounce. So 80 ounces means $160,000. Why gold, you ask? I wondered the same. My benefactor said people see what they want when they look at you, but what really matters is inside. It's your character, honesty, loyalty, and your drive to improve and help others. More simply put, reputation is what others think of you. Character is what you are. When you quickly judged that ashtray and tossed it aside, you didn't see its value as a graduation gift. Now I ask you, Mr. Rayle, do you think you are worthy of it? Vance sat there, stunned. He realized she was right. He thought he was mature, but his actions said otherwise. There was more to this woman than he had realized. His benefactor was wise. After thinking carefully, he responded, No, ma'am. I don't deserve such generosity, but I'm working on myself. Maybe one day I'll be worthy of it. Until then, I'll treasure it and remember the lesson you taught me. Thank you, and please thank my benefactor for me. She measured his sincerity. The lesson works both ways, Mr. Rayle. It's also about not judging others by appearances. Look at what's in their heart. You might be pleasantly surprised. He smiled, hearing her wise words. I'll try to do that. I have a confession. I judged you harshly when we first met. I didn't know who you were inside, and I apologize. After all we've been through, can I now know your name? As much as I'd like to tell you, I am bound by my obligations. Now, does anyone else know about our interactions besides your parents? No, ma'am, I swear. What about your fiancée, Abigail Bergstrom? I understand you're getting married soon. I wanted to tell her, but I've kept it a secret because of the penalties for sharing this information. But I ask your permission to tell Abby once she is my wife. I don't want to hide anything from her. Though I understand your position, Mr. Rayle, sharing any information about our relationship would be bad for you and potentially for your benefactor. If you respect him, you must keep this secret. Telling her could lead to others finding out. It must stay within our small circle, she said firmly. But for how long? He asked. I can't lie to my wife forever, not even by keeping things back. That's why we're talking now, Mr. Rayle. Why do you keep calling me Mr. Rayle? What happened to just calling me Vance? I call you Mr. Rayle because you've earned that title. You started as a cocky boy, then a young man, and now an adult. We're here to discuss your future, Mr. Rayle. She handed him a card from a company. This is from Davenport Financial Services and Banking, or DFSB. They handle huge amounts of money and have a great reputation. They manage funds, private investments, banking, and more. Thousands of clients trust them. They have offices in 5 states in the U.S. and in 25 cities around the world. Their main office is in New York City. I know them from my finance classes at Harvard. They were used as examples in many projects. But I haven't looked into them myself, he said. That makes sense. Now here's the offer. You can get an internship with them. Someone who supports you has helped set this up. You'll work there for a year with a fixed salary. I don't know the amount yet, but I'll find out soon. If you try to leave before the year is up, you'll have to pay back all the money for your education. If you get fired for a good reason, the same thing will happen. And if I finish the year? Vance asked. If you make it through the year, you'll get the chance for a permanent job. You might decide this work isn't for you. If you leave after the year, you'll be free of any promises. You won't owe anything. Sounds good. So, when do I start? He asked. We have some flexibility. You're getting married in 2 weeks, right? Yes. Can I invite you and my supporter to the wedding? Thank you, but that's not a good idea right now. What about your honeymoon? How long will that be? We have 2 weeks booked in the Cayman Islands. Okay, so you'll be back in mid-July. You'll need some time to find a place to live. Let's say you start on August 1st. That way you won't have to stay too long with your parents before you start your new life. August 1st. I'll be there, Vance confirmed. I'll have someone text you the details about your new job. She paused, then continued. Look, I know we didn't start off well. We've made some progress today, but I want you to know that I still don't think you belong at DFSB. It's not about your job skills or attitude. I'd be upset too if I were you. I can't tell you why right now, but if you finish your internship, all your questions will be answered, including my name. You will understand then. For now, my supporter wants me to say, welcome aboard and good luck. She held out her hand, this time with less tension. The wedding went smoothly. Abby had 5 bridesmaids and a maid of honor. Vance had 2 close friends and 3 fraternity brothers, including Andrew as his groomsman. His dad, Carl, was his best man without a second thought. He was also his best friend. The wedding was held in a big Catholic church in Columbus, Ohio. Even though Abby's family was Baptist, the Catholic church was bigger and could hold the large crowd. Most guests were Abby's family, which was expected. Vance looked for the blonde woman who had been tough on him, but she wasn't there. The honeymoon was perfect. Vance didn't miss the fast pace he'd been living for the last 8 years. Peace and quiet were what he and Abby needed. They explored the island and tried different activities like visiting a turtle farm. Vance had a turtle burger but didn't order another. Abby refused to kiss him until he brushed his teeth. They also tried scuba diving. Abby was a bit scared of drift diving, so Vance always held her hand or stayed close so they wouldn't get separated. But they enjoyed exploring an underwater plane near the shore, which was left there after a James Bond movie was filmed. There were no strong currents there to carry them away. While on their honeymoon, Abby and Vance asked their parents to look online for apartments near Davenport Financial Services and Banking. Vance wanted a place within walking or biking distance from work to save on taxi fares. He didn't know his salary yet, so he wanted to be careful with money at first. No one knew about his internship except his parents, but everyone was happy he got a job at such a well-known place. Abby was sure she could find an accounting job in the city, so she was happy to follow Vance as he started his career. After their honeymoon, they had less than 3 weeks to settle into a place in New York City. They first went to stay with Vance's parents, Carl and Mary Beth, for a week. There, they packed a U-Haul with Vance's clothes, personal items, and a few pieces of furniture. Then they rented a car to drive to Abby's parents' home in Columbus. After saying their goodbyes to Vance's folks, they spent the next week in Columbus. They rented a bigger U-Haul and added Abby's stuff and some of her furniture. The apartment they chose was a 1-bedroom, unfurnished place. The rent was $2,166 a month, and it included all utilities except power. Everyone was shocked at how expensive it was compared to Ohio and North Carolina, but they hoped their salaries would cover it. Vance returned the rental car and rented an SUV in Ohio to drive and tow the larger U-Haul to their new home. Both sets of parents helped pay the deposit and the first 2 months' rent to give them a head start. They were very excited to start this new chapter in their lives together. They met the building manager when they arrived and got the keys to their new apartment. They quickly unpacked and set up their clothes and furniture. The place was simple, but it had what they needed. They spent 3 days exploring their new neighborhood, finding a grocery store and other important places. Things were very different from back home. It would take some getting used to, but once their cupboards were full and they started cooking, they started to feel at home. They brought their bicycles and decided to check out Vance's new office so he would be ready. Vance got a text from Steve Crenshaw asking him to come to work the next morning at 8 o'clock and to bring Abby for the first day. There would be a lot of paperwork to fill out, and it might be good for her to see where he would be working. Their apartment was only 3 blocks from the office, so they left early to walk there. At the lobby, the receptionist called Mr. Crenshaw, who said Albert Iddings would meet them and give them a tour. The building was 42 stories tall, very clean, and had a mix of modern and Art Deco styles. It was very impressive. They spent a lot of time in human resources filling out forms to get Vance into the system. He got an access card and was told where he could and couldn't go in the building. They were both upset when they learned that Vance's starting salary would be only $50,000 for the first year. He wouldn't get any raises or vacation time until after a year. His salary would be reviewed then, but they couldn't say what that meant. They knew it would be tough to live on that salary alone, so Abby planned to look for a job to help out. They did get good health insurance from the company, but $500 would be taken out of Vance's monthly pay for their share of the cost. This made their budget even tighter, so Abby needed to find a job soon. Albert showed them around the building at a fast pace because there was so much to see. He even took them to the rooftop, which had an amazing view of the city. Albert heard Vance and Abby talking about her need to find a job due to his low starting salary. Albert was instructed to help her get an interview for a job at the same company. "Mrs. Rayle, if I may," Albert started, "I overheard you might be looking for a job. Is that true?" "Yes, it is, Mr. Iddings," she replied shyly. "Please, just call me Albert. No need for formalities here. You're like family now." "All right, thank you, Albert. You can call me Abby." "Well, Abby, I hear things around here that might interest you. For instance, Steve Crenshaw needs a new personal assistant. His current assistant, Donna Griggs, is very pregnant and will leave soon to have her baby." "Thank you, Albert. But I'm looking for full-time work, not just something until she returns," Abby said. "I understand. That's why I mentioned it. I heard she plans to move out of state to be a full-time mom. The job isn't posted yet, so I could give your name to the right people. You might get a call for an interview in a day or two. I don't know the pay, but it's a PA job for an executive VP, so it should pay well. What do you think?" "Can we have a moment to talk about it?" Abby asked. "Oh, sure. Take your time. I just thought it would be convenient for you two to work in the same building." They walked a short distance away and talked. "He makes a good point about us working together," Abby said. "Yeah, we might be on different floors, but we could still eat lunch together," Vance replied. "But we don't know what it pays. If they're starting me at $50,000 a year, you might find a better-paying job as an accountant elsewhere." "You're right. But he said I'd know in a couple of days. Why don't we try for it? Meanwhile, I can look for other accounting jobs just in case." "Sounds good. Let's go for it and see what happens," Vance agreed. Back with Albert, Vance said, "All right, Albert. We appreciate you telling us about this PA job. Abby will give you her phone number in case they're interested in an interview. If she gets the job and the pay is good, it could be perfect. Thank you." Albert wrote down Abby's information and promised to get it to the right people quickly. As the day ended, he showed them to the sub-basement, 2 floors below ground. After some twisting corridors, he proudly showed Vance his new office. It was a small, dark room with a metal desk, a bookshelf, and a file cabinet. There were no windows except for the glass pane in the door. Abby stayed quiet, knowing Vance might already be having second thoughts. "My office is right across from yours," Albert said. "I don't know if Mr. Crenshaw told you, but you'll be working with me. I've been alone here for 7 years, and I'm excited to have some help." Remembering the ashtray promise, Vance was determined to do well at this new job. He shook Albert's hand and said, "I'm looking forward to working with you in the company." "That's the spirit. See you tomorrow at 8 a.m. sharp. Have a good night and good day to you, Abby. I hope to see more of you soon. That night, the couple had a special time together. Abby wanted to make sure Vance went to work with a big smile. The next day, Vance arrived at work to find 2 piles of folders on his desk nearly 3 feet high. "Oh, you're here. Good morning, Vance," Albert greeted him with a handshake. "I know it looks like a lot of work, but most of it is not urgent." "What is this?" Vance asked. "Those are files of clients who haven't been active for over 2 years. We're the last stop for these clients. Everyone upstairs has given up on them. Instead of throwing their files away, they pass them to me. Well, to us now." "I guess that's a lot of faith they have in us to turn these cases around," Albert said with a nod. "So, we're getting the leftovers?" Vance asked out loud. "That's one way to see it. But I like to see it as a chance to show what we can do, not as an insult. Look at it this way. Someone must believe in you a lot to put you here with me to change these lost cases into good clients again. It's a chance for us to shine, kid. Do you see it now? Yeah, that's the glass half full view, no doubt about it. There you go. That's the spirit. Now don't keep asking me lots of questions. Take your time, go through those files, make all the calls you need, and see if you can bring some of those leftovers back to life." "Will do, Albert. And don't sir me. Just call me Albert like everyone else." "Sorry, Albert, just trying to be polite. By the way, I've put in 2 requests for you, but these things can take a while. I asked for your name to be put on your door. No idea when that'll happen. As for your phone, it's working, but there's a problem. Somehow your phone number isn't listed with your name, so if anyone wants to call you, you'll have to give them the number directly. They can't transfer calls to you. I've complained about it, so maybe they'll fix it soon. But for now, just jump right in." Vance's first call was to Abby. He wanted her to have his new work number and tell her everything would be fine. He spent the morning sorting through the files. He put them into 4 groups based on what he thought would suit them best. Then he filed them in order in his cabinet. At lunch, Albert came to his door and offered to take him to the company cafeteria. Vance happily agreed. After chatting about how Vance was settling in, Vance said, "I've been looking through the files you gave me, but I can't figure out how to help these clients make money. I looked on my computer, but something's missing. How do I do that?" Albert laughed loudly, like Vance had told a great joke. "So you think you can help those dead-end files, huh? I never thought you'd suggest that. I thought you'd just watch them pile up like me," he chuckled. "But if you want to learn the tech stuff, I can set that up. Go see Stan in services on the 22nd floor. Your ID will get you there. I'll tell Stan to expect you. He'll show you everything on the computer." "Thanks, Albert. I appreciate it. I just want to learn and do my job well." The next morning, Vance went to Stan's office. Stan seemed a bit nervous. Vance said Albert suggested Stan could show him how to make trades for their clients. Stan nodded and said he was very busy but had an hour before a big meeting. He said proper training would take months. Vance asked him to at least show him the basics quickly. Stan reluctantly agreed to a quick run-through of their processes. He started with the most complex steps, talking fast to make it harder for Vance to follow. Vance watched, trying to understand, but there was no time to take notes or ask questions. After 45 minutes, Stan said he had to get ready for his meeting and quickly ended the session. He didn't give a clear answer on when they could continue. Vance felt lost and unwanted, starting a new job with a master's degree, and he was stuck with a tough task and low pay. When he asked for training, he got brushed off by Stan's confusing, quick talk. Vance sat in his office thinking about his dad. His dad always seemed to have all the answers. He remembered a speech his dad gave about a great football play. "What do I want?" he wondered. He thought about what the woman with a harsh comment had told him during their last meeting. She said people see what they want when they look at you, but what really matters is what's inside. Your honesty, your loyalty, your will to get better so you can help others. Reputation is what others think of you. Character is who you are. Vance knew what he was going to do next. What Stan didn't know was that Vance had already learned about DFSB procedures and operations at Harvard. Stan had confirmed everything Vance needed. The only thing left was a password to move from the do-nothing screen to the real tools. Stan had used a special backdoor password that very few people knew. It allowed full access to all electronic operations. Vance watched Stan's fingers closely and saw that he typed Hidden Treasure Acre. Vance wasn't supposed to have his own unique password yet because he hadn't gone through all the necessary training. Stan wasn't planning to see or train Vance again. Back in his office, Vance tried to access the electronic investment system but couldn't get in at first. He tried many versions of the password until he capitalized the H, T, and ACR. He was in. He quickly went through many useless files to find a few good ones based on his training. He contacted them and used a straightforward approach he learned in school. On his fourth try, he found success. A doctor agreed to invest $5,000 but wanted to withdraw if the balance fell below $3,000. Vance applied all his knowledge to market index options. In the current economy, he thought this would give the best results. After making his first trades, his phone rang. It was Abby. "Honey, guess what?" she said excitedly. "I've been called in for an interview. Isn't that great?" "Awesome, honey. What's it for? An accounting job?" "I haven't sent my resume to any accounting firms yet. No, it's for the PA job Albert told us about where you work." "What if I get it? Wouldn't that be great?" she added excitedly. "Yeah, that would be nice if it pays enough. But don't get your hopes up too high, okay?" "Okay, honey. Carolyn Graham texted me saying my interview is at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm going shopping for a new dress to look my best, okay?" "I don't know Carolyn Graham. I've only met 3 or 4 people here anyway. Go shopping if you want, honey. You could wear anything and still look good to me," he said. "I know that, silly, but you're not the one interviewing me tomorrow. I want to look my best, just in case." "You're right. Just don't go overboard, all right? I don't want others to see too much." "You're so cute. I love that you're a little jealous because it shows you care. Don't forget it. See you tonight, babe." And he hung up the phone. That evening, Abby showed off her new blue dress. It looked fine on top, but Vance didn't like how short it was. She quickly read his expression. "I know what you're thinking. You think it's too short. But I've seen many women wear even shorter dresses and skirts here. I've seen you noticing them too," she said. "You might be right. But you're not other women. You're my wife. I don't want other men to get any wrong ideas about you," he said firmly. "You know you're the only man for me. You're the smartest man in the world, and I'll never want anyone else. But sometimes, a woman needs to show a bit to get opportunities. Trust me, I'm not looking for another man. I'm yours and only yours. Got it? You never have to worry about me." "Got it. Thanks, honey. We've only been married a short time, and I want to keep you all to myself. I'll be okay." Just as Vance expected, a market shift increased the value of the options he bought for his first client. The investment had already gone up by 20%. Vance added safeguards to keep the profits safe if the market changed suddenly. When he called the client, who had already checked the investment, the client wanted to pull out and keep the gains. Vance explained the fallback stop position if the market changed direction and advised him to invest more. Excited by the success, the client added another $5,000 but asked Vance to make sure his money was safe. As a safety measure, Vance entered him into a trade that had a lot of potential to gain money but also protected him from losing too much. Vance got a knock on his door at 11:30 a.m. It was Abby. "Honey, I have the most exciting news. You won't believe it." "What news?" Vance asked. "I got the job, honey. After my interview, they offered me the PA job, and I accepted. Isn't that great?" Abby said with excitement. "Already accepted? I thought you were going to talk to me about any offers first," Vance said with a bit of disappointment. "But I had to," Abby explained. "They told me the PA they hire needs to make quick decisions. If I had to check with someone, they would think I wasn't right for the job. If I didn't reply right away, they would have given the job to another girl. It was too good to pass up." "What do you mean, too good?" Vance asked. "That's the best part. You won't believe this, but they're going to start me at $75,000 a year, and if they like me, they will review my work after 3 months and I could get a raise even higher," Abby said. "$75,000?" Vance said, shocked. "Yes, $75,000 a year, and with your $50,000, our total income will be $125,000. Can you believe it?" Abby continued. "But why would they pay you so much? That doesn't make sense. What do you have to do for it?" Vance said, feeling frustrated. "I thought you'd be happy for me," Abby said sadly. "Why are you being sarcastic?" "I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean that. I just don't get it. Look, it's almost lunchtime. Why don't we go to the cafeteria and get something to eat? We can talk more there, Vance suggested. When they were seated away from the crowd, Vance asked, "Any idea why the job they offered pays so much more than mine? I have a master's degree and you have a bachelor's." I thought the same thing, but I couldn't just ask them why it pays so much. Carolyn Graham, the girl who helped me through the interview, explained why, Abby said. "And what did she say?" Vance asked. "She said there are 6 vice presidents at DFSB who have fancy offices on the 41st floor. Each vice president has 2 regular secretaries for daily work like typing and phone calls. But there are only 2 personal assistants who handle schedules, sensitive info, and personal errands. Carolyn Graham is one, and Donna Griggs was the other. Donna left last week to have a baby and won't be back. They're hiring me to take Donna's place," Abby explained. "So it's because you will know secret info? That's why it pays so well?" Vance asked. "That's part of it. All 6 vice presidents interviewed me together. They were all very nice. Besides the board, they pretty much run the whole company," Abby said. "Yes, that sounds true. I haven't met any of them yet. The only one I've heard of is Steve Crenshaw. He assigned Albert to our orientation," Vance noted. "Yes, Steve. I met him. He's very nice, like the rest of them. And the job comes with perks," Abby added. "What kind of perks?" Vance asked. "Well, I get the same executive health plan as they do, and it costs us nothing. You can take me off your plan if it saves us money. And I'll have a company car, a high-end Lexus with a parking spot in the garage because I'll sometimes run errands for them. I'm just so excited about it. I can't wait to tell my mom and dad. They'll be so proud," Abby said happily. "I'm sure they will," Vance said with a hint of cynicism. "Their little girl with a bachelor's degree starts out making 50% more than her husband with a master's degree working at the same place." Abby realized Vance felt hurt. She didn't mean to make him feel that way. "It's not like that, baby. You're amazing at your job, and when they see that, you'll rise to the top. This is a blessing. Let's be thankful," she said warmly. "You're right. I was just being petty. Of course, this is a good thing for us," Vance agreed. "A wonderful thing indeed. I'm really happy for you, sweetie. Happy for us. We'll be driving to work together in a company car, almost from the start." Abby looked down at the table when he said that. "What? Is that not true?" "Sweetheart, your hours are from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. I need to match my hours with theirs. They work from 9 to 6 every day, and they often work late when handling special projects. There may even be times I have to work on Saturdays. That's part of what they expect from me. And maybe that's why it pays so well, because of the demands on my time." "I see," he said sadly. "So we won't be able to ride to work together. I'll either walk or ride my bike while you drive a Lexus. On top of that, you'll get home later than me and we'll work odd hours now and then, taking you away from me more than we thought when looking for you a job. I can tell you're not happy about this. I hadn't thought about it that way, to be honest. But you're right. I don't want to hide the truth. I don't want to be away from you any more than you do from me. Look, babe, just say the word and I'll go back and tell them I've changed my mind. I'm sure there's another job for me somewhere and we'll get by. Whatever we decide, we'll face it together. All right?" Vance took a deep breath. "No, babe, you're right. We shouldn't reject this opportunity. Our love will get us through anything. This is a blessing, and I need to remember that. Maybe I can start dinner every day before you get home and we'll work out any other problems. I think you should take the job, so yeah, congratulations, sweetheart." "You don't know how relieved I am to hear you say that. Now we won't have to worry about paying the bills. We won't be rich, but things will get easier with this job. And once your career takes off, you'll probably earn much more than me. All you need is time to show them what you can do, honey. I know you're going to impress them. At least we can visit each other at work and maybe sneak a kiss now and then," he said excitedly. "Well, about that. I can come down to see you in your office any time I have a break. But the 41st floor is for executives only. Your badge won't give you access to that floor. There can be very sensitive information up there and conversations that are only for certain people. I had to sign a strict agreement that says I can't talk about anything that happens at work, even to you. I have to keep everything a secret. So when we get home every day, you can tell me all about your day, but I can't say anything about mine. I'm sorry, honey, but that's the way it has to be. Are we still okay with me doing this?" Vance thought long and hard about what she said. He realized it would be wrong to criticize her for having to keep secrets when he had to do the same. But something didn't feel right about this, even though he couldn't explain why she shouldn't take the job. "I'm good. We're okay. I understand. It makes sense. I'll try my best to remember not to ask you about your day," he said. Though their work situation started rocky, the couple soon settled into a somewhat normal routine. Vance bought a book on cooking because it was all new for him. Over time, he got good at basic cooking, but he viewed it as a necessary task and never really enjoyed it. Abby loved his cooking and encouraged him. Truth be told, cooking wasn't her favorite thing either, but she had been willing to do it as his wife. However, since Vance took over, they didn't have to eat dinner late anymore. Through the months of August, September, and October, Abby's overtime hours cut into their time together more and more. Since her pay was fixed, he couldn't verify her hours through her salary. But what they lacked in time, Abby made up in quality. They were together intimately at least 4 days a week and always on weekends, except during her period. Her enthusiasm never faded, and she even seemed to want more. Maybe she wasn't much of a cook, but she made sure Vance was happy every time they were together. He definitely wasn't complaining until the last day of October. Abby came home a little nervous. Vance wasn't sure if something had happened at work or if it was something she couldn't talk about. Finally, after they had a lovely night together, she brought up what had been on her mind. "Honey, I have something coming up at work that I need to tell you about. I want you to know up front that I don't want to go, but they're giving me no choice. If I don't go, it could cost me my job." "What is it, babe?" "What are they asking you to do?" he asked. "In 2 weeks, my bosses, the 6 executive vice presidents of DFSB, are going to San Francisco, California for a work retreat and team-building session. It's mandatory for all 6 of them and us PAs, too." "Companies do that all the time, honey. Maybe I can come along and we can turn it into a mini vacation," he suggested. "That's what I don't like. The main focus is on stress relief from work and team building, but only for the employees. No spouses, no secretaries, just us. Carolyn and I will share a room, and the 6 VPs will figure out their sleeping arrangements. But that's not the worst part." "It's not?" "No. One of the main goals is to reduce stress. So none of us, not the VPs nor Carolyn and I, can bring any communication devices. No cell phones, tablets, or laptops. We'll be cut off from the outside world all weekend. The guides will have phones for emergencies, but those numbers are for major emergencies only. It means I can't stay in touch with you, and I hate that. I don't want to be away from you that long. I'll miss you a lot." "You're right. I don't like that either. When do you leave and come back?" "Since it's across the country, we'll take off half-day Friday, fly there, spend Friday evening and all-day Saturday on team-building activities, and fly back Sunday afternoon. I'm not sure about the flight times yet." "I see. Do you know what kind of team-building activities they have planned?" he asked. "I brought a brochure home about the place. It has the emergency contact numbers on it, and I want you to have that, just in case something happens here or with our families. In short, they'll take us on a tour of Alcatraz, then to Fisherman's Wharf, where there's an old penny arcade collection. The games cost between 1 cent and 50 cents to play. They'll also have a scavenger hunt around the city. Teams will split up, do photo and video challenges, and run around places like North Beach, the Financial District, and the Presidio. They say it'll be fun, but I'm not looking forward to it." "No electronics, huh?" "Well, except for cameras. We're encouraged to take as many pictures and videos as we want. The only cameras we have are on our cell phones, and those are not allowed. I'm not buying a new camera. The only memories I want are of you and me." "Honey, I'm not going to tell you what to do. If I say don't go and you get fired, you might be mad at me. If I tell you to go and you hate it, you could blame me. It's a no-win situation for me. We've never been apart for that long since we married, and I don't like it either. But it's your decision. I'll support you no matter what." "Oh, I know you will," she said, frustrated. "This is one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't decisions, isn't it?" "Yep. But if you decide to go, I'll find something to do, like go to the movies, the park, or the museum. I'll keep busy." "Well, if you say so, that makes me feel a bit better. I think we need me to have this job right now, so I might go along to keep it." But next year, if they try this again, I'll quit. By then, your income should be enough, and I might not even have to work." "Just keep thinking like that, baby," he said with a chuckle. "Well, just keep thinking of me while I'm gone. I'm going to give you the best hug and kiss when I get back," she laughed. "I'm counting on that," he affirmed. 2 weeks later, as she was leaving for the retreat, he had to say goodbye at the airport security checkpoint. Before passing through, she gave him a tight hug and a kiss, asking him to remember it until she came back with more love. Vance decided not to go to the movies or out alone, and he didn't enjoy drinking much. Instead, on his way home, he picked up a couple of DVDs from Redbox, made some popcorn, and caught up on the blockbuster movies he'd missed during his busy school years. On Saturday morning, after struggling to sleep in alone, he got an idea. He wanted to surprise her when she got back from San Francisco. Abby loved Italian food, especially pasta e fagioli soup and chicken marsala. He had never cooked anything this complex before, but wanted to make something special for her return. After spending a lot of time online and reading reviews, he made a list of what he needed to cook 2 special meals from scratch. He spent most of Saturday buying, washing, and prepping everything so it would be fresh for Sunday. He spent hours making sure everything was ready to cook the next day. Her plane was set to arrive at 5 o'clock, so he aimed to have dinner ready by 6 when they would likely be home. Although he didn't like cooking and found it a lot of work for just 2 people, he was excited and did it to show his love for his wife. He waited at the airport, and she finally came out with her suitcase. She looked tired, which surprised him. He thought the trip was supposed to help her relax. She reached him, gave a quick hug, and said she was tired and just wanted to go home. Vance didn't know what to think. This was not how he had imagined it would go. "Are you okay? Are you sick?" he asked quickly. "I'll be all right," she said softly. "It's probably just jet lag. I just want to go home and sleep. It's been a long weekend." He decided to be patient and let her talk about what was bothering her when she was ready. She didn't say a word on the way home. He hoped that once she saw the effort he put into cooking her favorite dishes, she might feel better. But she seemed defeated. When he revealed the meal with a cheerful "ta-da," she gave a sad smile, different from any he had seen before. She sat down and pushed the food around her plate to be polite, but didn't eat much. She said she was tired and wanted to take a shower and go to bed. She was testing his patience. She never let him get away with being distant. She would usually ask him questions until he opened up. But something told him not to push her now. However, he was determined to find out what was wrong by tomorrow. Frustrated, Vance threw away the food and cleaned the kitchen. He watched TV until midnight and then slept on the couch. The night had not turned out as they had both expected. The next morning, he heard her talking on the phone while he was in the shower, but he couldn't hear the conversation. After he dried off and went to the bedroom, he saw she had gone downstairs to make coffee, her usual morning routine. She hadn't mentioned his absence the whole night. Did she even notice? Her phone was on the bedside table. He checked the call log, but there were no calls shown since before she left. Had she deleted the call? That seemed strange. Why delete only one call? He heard her coming back, so he quickly put the phone back and said, "Morning, babe. I hope you're feeling better than you were last night." "Much better, thank you. I slept like a log. We were running all over town for a scavenger hunt yesterday, and it wore me out," she replied. "By the way, who were you talking to on the phone earlier?" he asked. "Me? I wasn't on the phone with anyone." "Are you sure? I thought I heard you talking." She picked up her phone. "I swear I haven't had any calls since before I left for California." "But babe," he started to say. "Are you calling me a liar? Check the phone. No calls, see? Are you satisfied?" she snapped. "Apparently not as satisfied as you are," he replied angrily. "What does that mean?" she shot back. "It means I gotta go to work. Have a nice day. Bye." And he rushed out the door. She called after him, but he ignored her. She had never acted this way before. Why was she so upset about a simple question? Nothing made sense. He felt it was better to leave before it turned into a big fight. For the first time, he left without saying, "I love you," or giving her a kiss. Albert Iddings was doing great at work. He had been turning in progress reports on all the activity in his now small 2-man department. The results from his client list, which had nearly 0 progress before, had suddenly improved by over 4,000%. David Redding, his boss, called him into the office to talk about it. He praised Albert for the great success and asked what had changed after 3 years of little progress. But Albert knew something his boss didn't, and he wasn't about to spoil things now. He told his boss that Stan in training had shown him some new strategies with the computer, and he decided to try them with good results. He said he was stuck and needed to take risks, so he decided to try new things. The clients loved how their investments were doing, and most of them were now eager to invest more. He was very happy. No one mentioned Vance. David said he had never seen such smart investment choices that gave great results for both the clients and DFSB's profits. David told Albert to keep it up, and that he was recommending him for a 20% raise. Albert was thrilled. He hadn't gotten a raise in over 5 years. Vance got a call from Abby a little after 10:30 a.m. "Hi, honey. I don't like how we rushed out this morning. Let's forget about it, okay?" Abby said excitedly. "I'd like that," he said softly. "Well, I have some big news. I want us to go out tonight and celebrate. Don't worry about dinner. I've already made reservations." "So what's the big news?" he asked. "Oh, I want to tell you in person, sweetheart. This is going to be a special night. When you get home, take a shower and put on a suit. We're going somewhere fancy," she said with excitement. Vance felt better. Abby sounded happy again. Maybe whatever was bothering her was gone. "I can't wait to hear your good news tonight," he said with a smile. After putting on her best dress, she drove them in the Lexus to a fancy dinner club. They got there at 7:30 p.m. She was the only one allowed to drive the car for insurance reasons, unless there was an emergency. "The Boiled Lobster. We've never been here before. How do you know about this place?" he asked. "I've been here a few times for lunch and dinner with the VPs for my hard work," she said. "Why didn't you tell me? Do they take you to dinner often?" "It's just a place to eat, so I didn't mention it. Yes, only a couple of times after working hard on a Saturday," she said. "I see," he said, hiding his displeasure. He decided to keep calm and wait to see what she had planned. When they walked in, she told the host they were with the Crenshaw party. "Oh, you didn't make reservations for us? This is a group thing?" he asked. "It involves them too, so I thought we could all celebrate together," she said. "I see," he said quietly. "Don't ruin my night, please. This is supposed to be a happy time for me," she insisted. They found her co-workers and sat down. "Vance, I don't think you've met these three. This is Steve Crenshaw, Frank Sutton, and Bernard Ledbetter. They're all vice presidents of different divisions," she introduced them. They were dressed in expensive suits. "Guys, this is my hubby, Vance." Vance shook hands with them and noticed they were eyeing Abby. Vance asked, "Are your wives coming later?" Bernard replied, "You know, school night, kids, and home stuff." Vance realized Abby was the only woman there, and it made him uncomfortable. Abby looked at the VPs and said, "Can I tell him now? I've been dying to all day." "Tell me what? And why do you need their permission?" Vance asked, annoyed. Steve nodded at Abby with a smile. "Oh, goody. Guess what, sweetie?" "I'm listening," Vance said. "I got a huge raise starting today. Isn't that great?" Vance said. "That's nice, honey. We'll talk about it later." "Are you kidding me?" she said angrily. "We'll talk about it now. It's such good news. These guys wanted to see your face when I told you. My pay is going up by $12,500 a year. That means I'll be making $87,500 a year from today. Adding your $50,000, our income is now $137,500 a year. Did you ever think we'd make this much so soon?" Vance was angry that she talked about their money in public, but it was too late. He thought she probably told them everything earlier. He noticed Steve staring at him. "So, what do you think, sweetie? You haven't said anything." Everyone waited for his reaction. He was going to disappoint them. With a completely blank face, Vance said, "Excuse me, please. Where's the men's room?" He didn't ask anyone in particular. "Why didn't you go before we left home?" she asked, embarrassed. "Never mind," Vance said. "I'll find it myself." Then he walked away to look for it. As he left, he saw them talking closely, like in a huddle. Vance knew that if he hadn't left, he might have embarrassed his wife and made her upset in front of their bosses. He didn't want to do that in public, maybe at home, but not here. He needed time to calm down. When he came back 20 minutes later, no one was at the table. He found her on the dance floor with one of her colleagues. The other two were nearby, switching places with each other every few minutes, dancing with her in turns. After watching for a while, Vance walked over to her and Frank. "Honey, I don't feel well. Can you say goodbye to these nice men so we can leave tonight?" he asked. "You can't be serious. Are you trying to ruin this night for me? Why do you want to leave so early? We haven't even eaten yet," she said. Steve, standing nearby, jumped into the conversation. "Upset stomach, Vance? Go sit at the bar and drink some soda. That's the perfect remedy." "You'll feel better in no time," he said with a smirk. "Why don't you at least try it, honey? It might work." Then she playfully twirled away with Steve as he switched places with Frank, while Bernard waited for his turn. Vance didn't get what was happening or why, but he wasn't interested. He walked to the bar, ordered a Coke, asked for some paper and a pen, and went back to their table. He wrote, "Still not feeling well. Didn't want to ruin your special day, so I went home. Hope you have a great time." He left the Coke on the table and put the note in her purse, wrapping it around her cell phone so she wouldn't miss it if she tried to call him. Once he saw she was lost in the night with her friends and not paying attention to him, he went outside and called for an Uber. He was back at their apartment by 8:30 p.m. Once inside, he changed out of his suit and made a sandwich. Thinking back on the night, he felt more humiliated than ever. Was their marriage in trouble now? It sure seemed that way to him. His phone rang at 10 p.m. "Where are you? Did you really leave?" she asked. "Yes, I've been home since 8:30. "I wasn't feeling well," he replied. 8:30? Why didn't you tell me? I would have left with you." "I did tell you, but you chose to stay and not ruin your night." "Oh, don't act like a baby. I hope you're happy now. You ruined my special night." "How? It took you an hour and a half to notice I wasn't there. I guess that makes us even. You ruined my evening as soon as we got there," Vance snapped, then hung up and turned off his phone. Vance heard the apartment door open loudly at 10:45. He wondered if she'd be home before midnight while he sat in the living room watching TV. She came in crying, ran to him, knelt by his chair, and started apologizing. "Please forgive me, sweetheart. I don't know what's been wrong with me lately. I just haven't been myself. After you left and I called you, the guys explained how things might have looked to you. I love you more than you can imagine, and I don't want anything to come between us. It's my fault, all my fault. I got carried away after getting a big raise and lost my mind for a bit. Never again," she cried. "Your raise is good news, and I'm happy for you. But what really hurt tonight wasn't about your raise. You made me think you had made a booking for just us, but it was a party with just you being the only woman. Then I find out you've been going to fancy lunches and dinners with the bosses and never mentioned it to me. You surprised me with your raise in front of our bosses, showing how little I make compared to you. You embarrassed me in front of them for just asking for the restroom. When I got back, I saw you dancing with the 3 guys without talking to me first. And then, when I asked you to leave with me, you brushed me off. I've never felt so humiliated, especially by you. That's why I left." "I know, honey. You're right. Even though it wasn't how I wanted tonight to go, they helped me see how you might have felt. I was wrong, I admit it, and I owe you a big apology. It won't happen again. Can you forgive me, sweetheart? Please?" Real tears streamed down her face, her makeup smudged. Vance never could stay mad at Abby, especially when she was genuinely sorry. She was his soft spot. "Of course I forgive you, honey. I love you too much not to. I might not make as much money as you do right now, but I do my job with as much honor and integrity as you do yours." Abby flinched when he said that, but quickly smiled. "I know, love. You're the smartest and hardest working man I know, even more than those 6 guys who run the company. But don't let them know I said that." They shared a kiss and made up. Abby suggested they go to the bedroom to show how much she appreciated him. He felt a bit hurt by her earlier behavior and politely said he wasn't feeling up to it. Abby didn't take no for an answer and brought him to bed anyway. The next morning, she woke him up in a special way to show her love. She took her time, making him feel amazing before he finally let go. All was well in the Rayle household again. While their love life got back on track, it wasn't as frequent as before the argument. They were close once or twice a week on weekdays, but weekends stayed the same. Vance stopped trying to start things during the week because Abby often said she had headaches or was too tired from work. He decided to let her make the first move to avoid feeling rejected and causing more stress. Because the company DFSB employed 1680 people, they couldn't hold one big Christmas party. Each division had its own small celebration. Vance didn't want to attend any party where his boss, Albert, would be, because Albert always took credit for Vance's hard work. The 6 division managers had their own Christmas party at the Boiled Lobster, a restaurant where Vance had been embarrassed before. Abby begged him to go, promising it would be different this time. The executives had reserved the back section for their event. The 6 managers and their wives, 12 secretaries with their partners, and the 2 PAs, Carolyn and Abby, with their husbands attended. Each couple had their own table. Musicians played Christmas songs and other festive tunes. Everyone danced with their own partners. To Vance's surprise, the night was wonderful, and he told Abby how much he enjoyed it. When they got home, they felt so happy that they were very affectionate with each other and fell asleep holding each other. That year, they spent Thanksgiving with his family and their first married Christmas with her family in Ohio. They celebrated New Year's Eve in New York City among the crowds in Times Square. They counted down to the ball drop, welcoming their first New Year together as husband and wife. They were very happy and sealed the night with excitement when they got home at 2 a.m. Life was steady for the couple until March. Abby had often offered to use her increased salary to buy a car for Vance so he wouldn't have to walk or bike to work in bad weather. She said he deserved it, and it would be their car since her work car belonged to DFSB. She didn't tell him that she felt embarrassed about him walking in the cold and rain because she knew he wouldn't take it well. When Abby came home on Monday, March 7th, she was excited but wouldn't say why. Vance worried she might want something that could set off their easygoing life. Things were going strong between them, and their marriage was solid. Whatever it was, she kept it a secret, but showed her excitement through a night of passionate love, bringing back magic from their first time together. Early on Tuesday, March 8th, Vance got up to go to the bathroom. Returning to bed, he checked the clock. It was 4:45 a.m., but he saw the alarm was off. He was sure he had set it before bed, but thought he might have forgotten due to the excitement of the night. He set it again and went back to sleep. He woke up to the annoying sound of his 6:30 alarm clock. He hit the button to stop it and got up to start his morning routine. As he was tying his tie, getting ready for work, Abby started to wake up slowly. He always tried to be quiet in the morning so she could sleep more because her workday began an hour later than his. "Honey, what are you doing?" she asked, still sleepy. "Go back to sleep, sweetheart. I didn't mean to wake you. I'll be leaving for work soon." "Work? But we don't have work today. We're both off. That's why I turned off your alarm," she said. "You're so cute, honey. But today is Tuesday, a weekday. It's not the weekend." "I know what day it is, silly. You don't work today, and neither do I. I have plans for us." "What do you mean I don't work today? I work every weekday. My vacation starts after my first year. You know that," he replied. "Of course I know that. But I took care of it. I called Albert yesterday and told him you wouldn't be in today," she said proudly. Vance laughed a little. "Honey, you can't tell Albert or me when I will or won't be at work. It doesn't work like that." "Yes, I can. And I did. So you're not going to work today." "And how do you think you have the right to tell Albert to give me time off?" he asked. "Are you kidding? Albert is a nobody. He's at the bottom. Even the dishwasher in the cafeteria is higher than him. He's only there because he's related to a board member. Everyone knows he's not very smart. He just does what he's told and stays out of the way," she said. Vance knew Albert wasn't the best worker, but he was shocked to hear his wife talk about his boss like that. "How can you say that? Just who do you think you are?" he asked. "Everyone knows it, Vance. As high up the ladder as I am, if anyone tells Albert to do something, he does it." "Is that so?" Vance said angrily. "Yes, it's a fact. Albert does whatever I tell him to do." "If that's true, then what does that make me? He's my supervisor," Vance said. Abby was shocked by his question. She believed what she said, but hadn't thought about how her words would hurt him. She realized she had to go through with it now. "Look, baby, you do your best. I've talked to Albert and others who work with you. They all say you look busy, but no one knows what you actually do. No one says you waste time, but no one knows what you do. You're better at looking busy than your boss, she said. You don't know what I do because you don't work in my field. But I'll ask again, who do you think you are to say these things? He said. You want to know who I am? I'm the one who makes twice what you make. I got 2 raises in the past 6 months. That's a lot more than your salary. Apparently I'm doing something right and you're not. I'm the breadwinner in this family, not you, she said. She continued, that's why I gave you the day off. I wanted us to go out, just you and me, and tell you in a kind way that I make so much more money now. We could even think about having a baby soon. You wouldn't have to work anymore. You could stay home and take care of our baby. Don't you see? This is a good thing. Vance was stunned. You think I'm worthless? That what I do doesn't matter? That I should quit my job because I'm not going anywhere? Well, forget you. I'm going to work. You can do whatever you want today, but it won't be with me, he shouted as he left. When he got to his office, Albert was waiting for him. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be off today, Albert said with a nervous tone. I work here, Albert, just like you. I didn't ask for any time off, and even if I did, I don't get those benefits until after my first year. What are you talking about? Look, the order came from the big office. The boss, your wife, called and said you'd be off today. I don't want to get in trouble over this. Albert, how could you get in trouble because I came to work on a regular day? Unless you're saying I'm fired, I'm getting back to work. I get it, Vance. I just don't want any problems, Albert added, walking back to his office. Vance had turned off his cell phone because he didn't want to talk to Abby or anyone else. His desk phone was ringing non-stop. He knew it was Abby and needed to cool down before saying something he'd regret. He remembered his office phone still wasn't set up with his name or voicemail, so he turned the ringer off and got back to work. That is, until there was a firm knock at his locked door at 9:30. I'm busy, Albert. If it's a call, just say I stepped out, Vance asserted. Mr. Rayle, it's not Albert. Please open your door, sir. A woman's voice called out. He opened the door to see Carolyn Graham, the other PA. They'd met at the Christmas party. Sorry to bother you, Mr. Rayle, but I'm here on urgent business. Mr. Crenshaw, the vice president over your division, needs to see you right away. Since your ID doesn't give you access to that section, I'll take you to his office. I pretty much know what he wants, and I'd rather not talk to him, Vance deflected. That's not up to you, Mr. Rayle. He's your boss, a few levels up. Now please come with me, she stated firmly. Seeing she was right and he had no choice, he reluctantly followed her to the 41st floor. They didn't speak again until she led him into Mr. Crenshaw's lobby where 2 secretaries waited. Go right in, Mr. Rayle. He's expecting you, said a redhead. As he opened the door, half expecting an ambush, he was warmly greeted by a smile and a handshake. Good to see you, Vance. Thanks for coming right away. I'm swamped today with Abby being off. Thank you, sir. Good to see you, too, Vance lied. What can I do for you today? First, you can drop the sir stuff. Call me Steve. Thank you, Steve. Vance, we're very fond of Abby. She's full of energy and makes this place better. We show our appreciation by paying her well so nobody else takes her from us. We also try to keep her happy. She's called twice today, and she's not happy. She says she's been crying since you left this morning. Keeping her happy is important to us, Vance. I'm sorry, Steve, but I don't want to discuss personal issues between my wife and me with anyone else. It's private, Vance stated flatly. It's not as private as you might think. Anything that concerns her concerns us. Did you really tell her what you did because she makes more money than you? Is your ego that fragile? Maybe you should consider quitting and becoming a stay-at-home dad. Many men here would switch places with you. Vance stood silently, feeling humiliated and angry that Abby shared their personal problems with the higher-ups, but he held back. Do you have nothing to say? Are you just going to stand there? My wife may not see it this way, but I won't discuss private matters in the open. Is there anything else I can help with, sir? He restated. Frustrated, Steve gave one last piece of advice. Vance, I don't know why she's so committed to you given what she says you've done, but she is. If you know what's good for you, keep your wife happy. Sometimes you have to humble yourself. Is it such a big deal if it means being with someone as beautiful as she is, doing her best for the family? If things were reversed, wouldn't you expect the same? Steve was met with silence. Look, I know I can't make you be sweet to her, but I can make you leave. Whatever's bothering you, figure it out. I'm telling you to go home now and come back tomorrow. Don't worry, I'll let Carolyn know to mark you as here for the full day so you won't get in trouble. Go home and spend time with your wife. Now, Vance, do I need to call security to help you out? No, sir, that won't be needed. Thank you for the time off. You're welcome, Vance. Maybe you shouldn't question your wife's decisions so much. You know the saying, if mama's unhappy, then nobody's happy. Without a word, Vance went back to his office. He turned off his computer, told Albert he'd be gone, and left the building feeling uneasy. He was caught in a tough spot. On one hand, he was angry at his wife for sharing their private issues with their boss, maybe even other heads of the company. On the other hand, he was worried about what Steve said. Steve made it clear that he needs to listen to his wife or else. More importantly, Vance was still in the first 6 months of a 1-year internship. If he got fired, he would have to repay all his college costs and lose any chance at a permanent job. Even though he was very unhappy with Abby, he knew that getting into a fight with her or taking a break from the relationship could cause trouble with Steve. As he walked home, he thought about his choices. The safest thing for him to do was to avoid a fight and distance himself emotionally. He couldn't control her, but he could control himself. He walked slowly home, thinking over his position. When he arrived, she was waiting for him. "Looks like you learned something today, huh?" she said. Vance looked at her, tired and silent, and started climbing the stairs to their bedroom. "I'm talking to you. What do you have to say for yourself?" Again, he said nothing. "Where are you going?" she asked. "I'm getting out of this suit, if that's okay with you," he replied with sarcasm. "No, don't change. I made plans for us. We're leaving soon." "No, thanks," he said flatly. "No? You're telling me no?" she said, getting angry. "I feel sick. I don't want to go anywhere." "Are you trying to ruin everything good I bring to this marriage?" she snapped. He kept ignoring her, staying quiet. "Fine. I'll go by myself and have a great time without you. How about that?" "Have a nice time," he replied. "I'll just stay here and watch TV." "You have a day off? And you're just going to waste it watching TV?" she asked, shocked. His silence made her angrier, and she left. Vance was happy to have her out of the apartment. He thought he managed pretty well, considering how much she was upsetting him. She came back 4 hours later, feeling better. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snapped at you," she said sweetly. "I wanted today to be special for us, and got frustrated when it didn't go as planned. Are you feeling any better?" "Yes, a bit. It's getting better," he said. "I have good news. While you were resting, I looked at some apartments. Now that we're making more money, I think we should move to a nicer place. I found one I love and put down a $500 deposit to hold it for 3 days. Why don't we go see it together?" "I don't think so. I'm happy here. I don't want to move," he said, feeling down. "How can you say that without even looking at it? Don't dismiss it so quickly, sweetie. We'll lose $500 if we don't follow through." "You didn't talk to me about moving before putting down a deposit. Had you thought to call me, I could have saved you from doing that." "Well, I want us to move there, so I'll go ahead and get it ready for us. Once we're settled in the new apartment, you'll see how great it is and love it even more than I do. If you want to leave me and move out on your own, I can't stop you. After all, you make the big money like you said, but I'm not going anywhere." "You can't mean that. Are you saying you would leave me over a new apartment?" she said, shocked. "I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't want to move, so I'm staying here. But if you want to move away and leave me, well, you said you have the money to do it. I can't stop you if that's your choice. Why do you have to ruin everything? Why are you being such a jerk about this? Where's the man I fell in love with?" "Abby, I haven't changed at all. I'm the same as I've always been. It's you that has changed. Think about it." And he walked away to the bathroom, hoping she wouldn't follow. Things were tense in the Rayle household for the next 3 weeks. She didn't push for the new apartment, trying to avoid fights. They still lived in their 1-bedroom apartment, so it was hard to get any space unless one of them slept on the couch, which Vance had thought about doing. There was no closeness, but given the power struggle, he didn't miss it. Luckily, Steve didn't meddle in their business any more than he already had, and no one told him he was needed less. April 1st came, and Vance was ready to leave for work when Abby approached him in her robe. He didn't know she was awake. He thought he had been quiet. "I know we haven't been getting along for the past 3 weeks," she said nervously. but I need you to sign some insurance papers before you leave. We are changing our health insurance at work, and they need everyone's paperwork. I forgot to mention it last night, but I need to take the papers with me today. It's the same coverage we have now, but the new company offers it at a lower price," she said softly. "Is this an April Fool's joke? Can it wait?" he asked. "I need to leave for work, and I don't want to be late." "No," she insisted. "It has to be turned in today, or our coverage could be affected. There are 2 sets of papers, one for each of us. It won't take you long to sign. I'll add mine later today. All right?" "All right, but I have to go. Where do I sign?" he asked her. "Just at the bottom of the first 4 pages. I'll fill out mine after you leave so I don't hold you up," she offered kindly. Vance saw the front page had the name of an insurance company and a lot of small print. He quickly signed and dated the 4 pages she pointed out without reading them, then left for work. Abby was relieved there hadn't been another big fight. She hated the tension, but Steve and the other bosses told her to hold her ground. They said Vance would come around when he realized he missed being close with her. But Abby wasn't patient. They often asked why she stayed with him, given his old-fashioned ways. She couldn't leave Vance. She needed him. She just wanted to shape him a bit more to fit her wishes. Abby thought having a baby would help their relationship and bring back the love they once had. She wanted to rekindle the romance that used to be in every part of their life. She no longer felt they were a team. Instead, she felt she was the only one working for their marriage, and she wanted him to fully join in again. She believed once their baby was in his arms, his heart would melt, and things would be like before. She bought many books and magazines about having babies, especially ones which spoke of the love and bonding that comes with childbirth. In the following weeks, she started asking him about baby names and talked a lot about how their parents would be excited to become grandparents. While Vance couldn't deny their parents' joy at the thought of a grandchild, he could see Abby was trying to shift his focus away from the problems they had. He also felt she was trying to make him become a stay-at-home dad while she worked. Though he respected men who chose that life, it wasn't for him. Even if his dream of becoming a successful financial expert seemed far away, his spirit kept him going through his internship, partly to avoid the high costs he would face otherwise. Vance found her talk about having a baby amusing, which made him smile often. She thought his smiles meant he was happy with the idea. This made her more determined, imagining him as the most loving and attentive father ever. Abby's idea to have a baby was not possible because they had been avoiding intimacy. So, she started wearing more revealing clothes and casually touching Vance when they were at home. Vance had strong self-control, but she knew he would eventually give in. On Thursday, May 2nd that year, Abby came home and told Vance she had to work late the next day. Although she sometimes worked late, the way she made a big deal about it seemed suspicious to him. She talked about the top executives working on a special project that needed to be finished that night. She said once it was done, she probably wouldn't need to work late again unless there was an emergency. Abby looked genuinely sad about being away from him on Friday night and explained why. "Honey, I haven't told you this because I wanted it to be a good surprise. Remember how we've talked about having a baby lately?" Vance nodded, curious about what she meant. "Well, for the past 3 months, I've been taking a fertility drug called Clomid. It helps my body release an egg so I can get pregnant. The pills cost about $900 a month, but our insurance covers it. I planned for us to go out tomorrow, have a nice dinner, and then come home and, be together to try for a baby. But now I have to work late, and it messed up my plan. Still, I will not let it stop us, okay? No way. When I come home, no matter how late or tired I am, I want us to be together. I really want us to have this baby, Vance," she continued. "To help you stay in the mood, I bought some new movies for you to watch while I'm working late. They're romantic, and I want you to think about us being together. Will you do that for me? Will you promise to be with me like only you can? Will you make love to me and help us make this baby? Please." Vance could see she was sincere. Maybe all the baby talk or her actions or his own desires made him give in. He did love her deeply and had seen more of her old self lately. He decided to meet her halfway. "Okay, sweetheart, you win. Let's do it," he said excitedly. She jumped into his arms and kissed him deeply. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. As much as I want to be with you tonight, Let's save our energy for tomorrow and go all night long until the sun comes up. Deal? Deal, he replied with newfound enthusiasm. The next day, Vance picked up seafood on his way home, thinking it might help him later with Abby. He knew she wouldn't be home until late, so he was eager to watch the movies she gave him. At 8 p.m., Vance was watching the movies but kept himself from doing anything else to save his energy. Suddenly, his phone beeped with a text from an unknown number. Unknown sender. Do you know where your wife is right now? He thought it was a prank or mistake, but then another text came. Unknown sender. She's not working at DFSB, she's at a party. The mention of DFSB made him curious, so he texted back. Vance. Who is this? Unknown reply. A friend intrigued, he replied, Who do you think my wife is? He waited for a while and was about to ignore it when a picture started downloading on his phone. Once the download finished, he opened the image file. It felt like getting hit by a speeding truck. He doubled over in pain. His wife, his lovely wife, was lying on her back, naked. There was Steve Crenshaw, the vice president, with his body pressed against hers. The picture was clear, not blurry at all. It was like watching a high-quality video. There was no guessing what was happening. His wife was cheating on him. The pain in his heart was almost too much to bear. He cried harder than he ever had before. She was his first and only true love. She was the one woman he had given his heart to, and now she was breaking it. He couldn't see how their marriage could survive this. Then a thought came to him. What if she wasn't there willingly? What if she had been drugged or forced? What if she needed his help? It didn't make sense how she could betray him after all the effort she put into their relationship. Something was off, and he needed to find out the truth. He decided to reach out to the person who sent the photo to get more information. He texted back, Vance, when was this picture taken? Is it old? Unknown. Reply, about 30 months ago, Vance. Why are you doing this? Unknown. Reply, to repay a debt. Thought you should know. Vance, is she at the office building? Unknown. Reply, no, Vance, where is she then? Unknown reply, can't say, might lose job. Need job check, her phone will send link later. Vance tried to get more answers, but the mysterious sender stopped replying. The sender must be risking a lot by sending him this information. But if that was true, how could they send a clear photo of Steve with his wife but not tell Vance where she was? It was confusing. But Vance had 2 clues. He could use the phone finder app to locate Abby's phone, and a link might come later with more information. But nothing in the texts told him if Abby had been drugged or forced. He needed to find her right away. He quickly opened the phone finder app and activated it. He hoped her phone would be at work, but it wasn't. It was at 1125 West 10th Avenue. He had no idea what kind of place that was. A search told him it was called Annie's Hall, a place for small parties, reunions, and meetings by appointment. Well, he would join the party. He called an Uber, got dressed quickly, grabbed his keys, and ran out the door without his coat. It was raining hard outside. He didn't want to go back in, so he huddled under the entryway and jumped into the car when it arrived. 20 minutes later, he was at Annie's Hall. He sent the driver away and walked up to the locked glass door. The well-lit entryway was empty. He knocked with his knuckles, but got no response, so he banged his keys on the glass. Finally, a big bald man appeared. "Can I help you, sir?" the man asked politely. "Yes, I need to see my wife, Mrs. Abigail Rayle," Vance replied. "Just a moment, sir. Let me check." The man went inside and came back about 5 minutes later. "I'm sorry, sir. There's no one here by that name. You must be mistaken. Have a good evening." Vance's anger rose. He knew he was being lied to. "Excuse me, sir. She is here, and if you don't bring her to me right now, there will be trouble," he said firmly. "I told you she's not here. Why do you think she is inside?" the man asked. "2 reasons. 1, my phone finder app shows her phone is inside. 2, her car is in your parking lot, so I know she is here. Are you still saying she's not?" Vance challenged. "Yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm saying. Please leave, or there will be trouble," the man replied. "You're right, there's gonna be trouble, and it's gonna happen now." Vance took out his phone and called his wife's number. It went straight to voicemail. Someone had turned off her phone recently, probably because of his call. He made another call while the man stood there. 911. "What's your emergency?" the dispatcher asked. "Yes, my name is Vance Rayle. I'm at 1125 West 10th Avenue. I believe my wife has been kidnapped and is being harmed inside this building," Vance reported urgently. The doorman quickly went inside again, leaving the door locked. Shortly after, the police arrived. Just then, Abby appeared and came to the door. Her clothes were messy, as if she had put them on in a hurry, and Vance could see some kind of sticky residue on her legs. Vance had no doubts about what was happening. He knew exactly what his wife looked like after cheating. The doorman opened the door a little and spoke to the officers who had come to check out the call. "I'm sorry, officers. There was a misunderstanding. This gentleman was asking about one of our guests, and I misunderstood him. As you can see, she's here with him and everything is fine," he explained nervously. Abby forced a smile at the officers. They asked, "Is everything okay, ma'am? Are you here against your will?" "Everything's fine, officers. My husband just got confused. It's so embarrassing. He knows I'm in a meeting and won't be home until late," Abby said. Then she turned to Vance, angry. "How did you know I was here? How did you find me?" "The phone finder app showed you here," he replied. "You said you would be working tonight, not having an affair with your boss." "You have no idea what you're talking about," Abby snapped. "We're working. You need to go home and wait for me." "Abby, I know more than you think. I just do. I need you to come home with me right now," Vance insisted. "No, Vance," she said through gritted teeth. "I'm not leaving until this project is finished. You're making this take longer. I'll be home soon. Go home and wait for me." Vance was firm. "I need you to come with me now. Just grab your things and let's go." "That's not happening until we're done here," Abby said, annoyed. "You're embarrassing me in front of my bosses. Just go, please, before you lose your job." "Honey, you have no idea how serious this is. If you don't come home with me now, then I will not be there when you get back, and I will start divorce proceedings," Vance warned. Abby laughed. "You're bluffing. I love you, and I know you love me. We're going to be together forever. Just give me this time, please." Vance's voice was sad. "There won't be anything left to fix. If you refuse to come home now, you will only speak to me through my lawyer." The doorman and the police officers saw everything. Tears welled up in Abby's eyes. "You don't mean that. I'll see you later, honey," she said, and went back inside. "I'm sorry, officers. Like the doorman said, it was a big mistake. My apologies for involving you," Vance said. "No problem, sir. We've seen this before. Good luck to you," one of the officers replied. It was still raining, and Vance didn't want to wait for another Uber. He remembered he had a key to Abby's company car just for emergencies. He thought this counted and drove it home. Her new lover could take her home. He didn't care anymore. Back at the apartment, Vance felt a mix of emotions. He knew his marriage was over. This wasn't the first time Abby had been with Steve. She was probably lost to him long ago. The apartment was hers now. He wasn't going to spend another night there, especially if she was around. By 9:15 p.m., Vance wanted to leave before Abby returned. He synced his phone with his laptop and printed out a picture of her with Steve. He left it on the kitchen table for her to find. Then he packed a week's worth of clothes, figuring he could come back later for more if needed. He gathered his toiletries and personal items. He smiled at an ashtray she didn't know he valued. If things got worse, he could sell it. While packing, his phone dinged with another text. "Unknown source. Link covers the first 2 hours of the party tonight. We'll send more links for 2-hour increments as they happen. Sorry, bro." Password, Sigma Chi. There was a link to a video file. Now he knew a fraternity brother or sister was giving this info. That deepened the mystery. He had no idea how someone from college could be involved. Maybe it was a trick. He clicked the link and entered the password. The video started. It wasn't just Steve and Abby at this party. It looked like all the VPs were mixed up in this. He moved the video ahead in chunks of 15 minutes, stopping briefly to watch quick scenes. Every time he looked, it seemed like they were with her again. He felt like he might throw up more than once. The video on his phone was too small to see well. He decided to watch it later on his computer. He needed to download it and make DVD copies for evidence. He had to keep his laptop and blank DVDs handy to make copies for his lawyer, just in case the online version disappeared. He packed his laptop, toiletries, and other personal things into another suitcase. Before leaving, he took off his wedding ring and put it on a photo on the kitchen table. He thought about where he could stay for a while, Besides Abby, he didn't have anyone in New York City to lean on. Albert wasn't an option. He would sell him out quickly. As for his job at DFSB, no one there was really close to him. It was sad that his best friend might be the unknown person who sent him the video. He decided to go to an ATM and withdraw the most money his account would allow. He remembered there was a cheap hotel a few blocks away. If they had a room, he could pay in cash and not be traced by his credit card. Since it was raining hard, he took his raincoat and umbrella, loaded his luggage into Abby's car, and drove to the hotel. He checked in without getting his stuff wet. After returning the car to her apartment, he walked back to the hotel in the rain. At the hotel, he set up his laptop and started downloading the video. He wanted to turn off his phone to avoid being found, but realized he needed it on to get more links to videos. He guessed Abby wouldn't look for him until her party was over. The person who sent him the video would likely inform him when it ended. Once the video downloaded, he burned it to a DVD for backup. Around 11:30 p.m., he got another link for the second part of the party, repeating the process. He couldn't sleep at all. The third link came at 1:30 a.m. and the final one at 2 a.m. He thanked his unknown friend and turned off his phone. He watched TV as the downloads and DVD burning finished. After capturing and burning the videos, he finally fell asleep with the TV still on. Abby got home around 3 a.m. She was angry. If Vance had stayed home, she would have been back much earlier. She was glad to see her car back at the apartment. Vance must have driven it back to annoy her. She was exhausted from her night and just wanted to rest. When she walked into the dark, quiet apartment, she was relieved. At least Vance wasn't waiting up for her. She trudged to their bedroom, hoping he was asleep. Seeing the empty, unmade bed was a pleasant surprise. Maybe he was sleeping on the couch then. She slept deeply, not waking up until 10 a.m. Saturday. She realized she hadn't even changed her clothes before collapsing on the bed. She sleepily stripped and took a shower, feeling cleaner afterward. Downstairs, she hoped for a hot cup of coffee waiting for her, but braced herself for another day dealing with Vance. When she walked into the kitchen, her eyes were instantly drawn to the table. There, she saw a big photo of her with Steve and a wedding ring on top of it. No, no, no! This wasn't supposed to happen. Vance was never supposed to find out about what she did last night. This can't be real. She dashed to the living room but didn't see Vance. She called out his name, no answer. She ran upstairs and checked every room, still no Vance. Then she noticed that many of his clothes and personal things were gone. He found out! He knew what she was doing last night, and that's why he was so insistent on her leaving with him. She searched for a note or any clue about where he might be, but found nothing. She quickly called his cell phone. It went straight to voicemail. No, no, no! She fell to the floor and cried uncontrollably, feeling a surge of loss. After lying on the floor for nearly half an hour, she finally pulled herself together and called Steve to tell him that Vance was gone and about the picture he left. Steve was extremely angry. He accused her of giving something away about what she would be doing that night. She swore that she didn't. He finally calmed down and said it didn't really matter. They had a plan B for situations like this. He told her to calm down and go about her daily activities like normal. He assured her that she would hear from Vance sooner or later and that it would eventually work out. But they all needed to be patient. Vance woke up around 10 a.m. to a knock on the door. Room service. He cursed himself for not putting the Do Not Disturb sign out, then he realized there wasn't one. This wasn't a fancy hotel after all. He yelled for them to come back later, and they agreed. After showering and shaving, the beautiful, sunny May day outside was in stark contrast to the storm in his life. Today was the day he planned to watch the videos of his soon-to-be ex-wife with those men. But first things first. He locked the DVDs in the room safe to keep them from disappearing and let the maid know his room was free before heading to a nearby diner for breakfast. He wanted to stay energized and give his stomach time to settle before watching the video. After eating, he walked to an ATM and withdrew $1,000 in cash to avoid using credit cards. He walked around the block twice to calm his nerves, think about his options, and clear his mind. When he got back to his hotel room, Vance took out the discs and sat at the desk with his laptop and headphones. He didn't want any sounds attracting attention. More importantly, The headphones would let him hear any dialogue clearly. He already knew about the actions. Now he wanted to understand what was said. Maybe their conversations would explain why and how this happened. It was hard for him to keep it together for the entire 7-hour video. It was bad enough hearing the sounds with each man and his wife, but the harsh words they said about him confused him. Why did they hate him so much? What had he done? Nothing made sense. He saw 6 men taking turns with his wife, but this wasn't just an ordinary situation. It was planned out very carefully. Abby had told him she was taking a fertility drug because she wanted him to get her pregnant. Yet now, she was with 6 men. The first round of actions showed each man not using protection. They all took turns with her in a specific order, but nothing in the video revealed how they chose the order. She just laid there as each man went ahead. For the second round, it took them a bit longer, but each man, again in the same order, went ahead once more. Vance guessed that it was during this second round that he came to rescue her. The doorman said he was there and wanted to see Abby. Steve and the others were annoyed but kept going. She did what they said. But when the doorman returned saying he had called the cops, everyone was angry. Steve told her to quickly put on her dress and try to make her husband leave. When she asked what if he knew, they told her that was impossible and scolded her for not turning off her cell phone. She came back crying 20 minutes later. Steve gave her a large glass of wine to calm her down and told her that this would be her last time with them. From that, Vance understood that this was the end of her time with them for some reason. But that was all the video revealed about it. She took off her dress and got back into an all-fours position. The last 3 men finished what they were doing with her. Then they took a 30-minute break. During this time, she drank more wine and used a washcloth to clean herself. Vance thought he heard a porn movie playing in the background, but the screen wasn't visible on the recording. He guessed it was there to help the men get excited again and perform when it was their turn. There wasn't much talking in the video to help Vance understand what was going on, but he did notice an odd detail. He could clearly identify 5 of the 6 men as executive vice presidents of DFSB. There was enough evidence of each man's actions with Abby that their wives might want a divorce. But one man's face never showed on camera. It seemed like he didn't know where the camera was, just like the other men. Yet, somehow, the camera never caught his face. Vance could only see the back of his head and hair. The only clue about him was a tattoo on his lower back. It was an anchor with a snake wrapped around it, very detailed and unusual. Vance reached a clear decision. There was no chance of fixing his marriage. He would never be with Abby again, and divorce was the only way out. She had betrayed him and lied too much for anything to get better. Even when he tried to help her, she could have gone home with him, but she chose not to. All the talk about having a baby made him sick, considering how she acted. Whatever happened to Abby, she wouldn't be his wife anymore. That was for sure. Vance started looking for local divorce lawyers and read reviews from their clients. But the lawyer he wanted to see wouldn't be available until Monday at the soonest. To be continued, waiting for part 2 on my channel Hey Audience. If you liked this video and want to keep up with more thrilling stories, make sure to subscribe to Prince Cheating Tales and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss out on our upcoming adventures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next wonderful story.